Hey everyone, the Talking Dads podcast is brought to you by Little Scholars Early Learning Center. Whether your family needs infant care, a preschool program, or before and after school care, Little Scholars' highly rated Step Up to Quality programs provide quality early childhood education at an affordable price. Visit www.littlescholars.net to get in contact with an enrollment specialist and schedule a tour of any of their 5 Lake County campuses. Here's the deal. Talking Dads fans are getting a little bonus. Mention that you heard about them through our podcast, and when you tour, and you'll receive $25 off of your registration fee. Again, that's Little Scholars Early Learning Center, where children learn, play, and grow together. We are also brought to you by Pub Fredo Gastropub. Pub Fredo was voted Best Gastropub in Cleveland in 2019 by Cleveland Magazine Silver Spoon Awards. We love Pub Fredo. Their menu is chef-inspired, always pushing the limits of traditional pub fare. The other night I had a burger, I believe it was called the Pub Burger. It was incredible. Cooked perfectly. It was amazing. And you won't have a problem pairing your favorite item on the menu with their great selection of local craft beers, crafted cocktails, and of course, an amazing bourbon and whiskey selection. I went with the Bullet 10-year with my Pub Burger. All of this in a cozy, fun, come-as-you-are atmosphere. You can check them out at pubfredo.com and on Facebook and Instagram at PubFredo Gastropub.
We are also brought to you by Marky Fresh Barbershop in Menor, Ohio.
Bro, I love Marky Fresh.
It's the best, isn't it?
Dude, I get cut there like every 3 weeks. My kid gets cut there every month
Every
and a
now and
half or
then.
so. Month and a half, 2 months, something like that. They do such a good job.
The environment is phenomenal. Everybody's awesome there.
Can I tell you a secret? I don't
Please.
even give a shit about the haircut. It is so much freaking fun going there.
Just to hang out.
Yeah. I have such
Just have a good time. Every time, man.
Yeah.
You get caught. If you want to be in there, they're fast.
Oh, yeah.
Their whole app, everything, booking to get in.
So
It's so
easy.
convenient and easy, but you get caught up
Oh, yeah.
because you just want to hang out and talk with these guys.
You know what the word is? Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
So many shenanigans.
You don't want to leave.
It's so much fun. But honestly, they do a fantastic job.
They really do.
I look way better when I leave than when I get
You
in there.
really do.
I know.
So, yeah, Marky Fresh.
Yeah, book at markyfresh.com.
Book, get in, stay fresh.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Talking Dads. This is it. This is episode 100. This is the end of season 1, and we are very fortunate to have Sanjay Parker in as our guest. We had an amazing conversation with Sanjay. He told us about his recent trip to Hawaii, little history, and brought us some Hawaiian whiskey, which was really cool. We got into all kinds of parenting, from growing up, from visiting other countries, talking about some of the work that Sanjay does. We just had a blast, as we always do with him. So, yeah, really good episode. I think you'll really enjoy it. Like we said, this is the end of season 1, so we are taking a break. We will be back in the fall with some brand new content, new guests, new things going on, some ideas that should be a lot of fun. So enjoy. Thank you so much for all your support for over these last 2.5 years, and keep reaching out. We will see you guys soon.
In a world where moms continue to dominate parenting authority and a father's role is minimized in society, 2 dads take on the toughest parenting topics on a weekly basis, all while drinking bourbon. They are the Talking Dads.
We should start doing
We
Kinergy
should.
before episodes.
We absolutely should.
It gets the blood flowing.
You need a little spoof of Kinergy.
Should we just make a video, the 3 of us?
We could.
Burbenergy.
Burnergy.
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 Dadagy.
Dadagy. Dadorgy. No.
Dad orgy.
Let's cut that one.
That's what the salon would have seen.
Yeah, right.
With Bill here.
How embarrassing were we just dancing around? I mean, we were entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
They always say dance like nobody's looking, right?
But we knew there was a lot of people looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Oh, whatever. So,
Anyway,
well, Sanjay.
Yeah.
Sanjay Parker is here at the wonderful Collab by Notion in
is a
beautiful
great
downtown
place.
Isn't this place
Willoughby.
beautiful?
It's beautiful.
Whoever owns this place is probably someone really amazing.
They're probably handsome.
Yeah.
Yes, probably.
handsome.
You know,
Probably.
have a very nice, loving,
Wears a nice
supporting
sport
wife.
coat.
sports coat in
Yeah.
the middle of like the hottest day of the year.
No, you look great. Thank you so much for joining us finally for
Episode
100. Yeah, man. It's
Episode
been
100.
We've been here for almost 2 years.
Actually, it
Believe that?
will be in what, May?
May, yeah.
It'll be
May
2
or
years.
June.
That is amazing.
Don't talk too much because I think our lease is coming up.
It is. I mean, the successes that you've achieved, you know, sponsorships, the fact that thing still goes back up on the wall
Right,
is
right.
amazing.
Don't worry. I think we have one on. There's a damn tow truck again.
Yeah. It's been a problem, actually. I've been meaning to talk to you about that with
Who
the
are they
lease.
trying to tow?
I don't know.
Probably
but
me.
It disrupts the show quite often. And so
One day
we're gonna
Ian had to
need
move his truck.
Yeah. In the
The
middle
dude-
of a show.
The dude was trying to take a car. So the parking spot behind this one right here.
Yeah.
The dude was like turning into an angle trying to get the car. Ian's truck's right there. I'm like, that guy's never.
Wait, is he a repo guy or?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what the deal was. No, it was 2 spots back, wasn't it? Maybe
I
the.
don't know.
there's
Yeah,
not a
I
spot.
think it
This
was.
is-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the non-spot.
Right.
But anyway.
I was told never to help a tow truck guy. It's just not
seems rude.
something that's well. How do you know he's legit?
Oh.
Just because
Because he has lights? Yeah, how simple would that be? Can you imagine there's just tow trucks rolling around downtown Willoughby just picking up cars all night?
And everybody's like, "We'll help you." Yeah,
Let's
I'll
go
move my
buy a
car.
tow truck.
There's a really nice Tesla down the street we could grab.
It'll let me know.
It'll let me know. I don't know.
It'll
Bill
tell
tested
me.
that.
It'll send out the distress
Bill was
signal.
kicking your car the one day and he
Yeah.
was not doing anything.
What part of it?
The whole
The whole entire car.
We
I'll have
tested
it.
out quite.
I'll have it on camera.
Yeah.
When I was out here,
Yeah.
We took a walk one night.
it didn't perceive you as a threat.
All right, well, Sanjay, tell us a little about yourself. Give us a little dad profile.
Okay.
What makes you a dad?
Well, that's a complicated one. It's more than having
Loaded
children,
question.
right? So I identify as a dad, a husband, a brother to many. We have a live studio audience here.
Yeah, it gets distracting when he starts,
Some of our studio audience should
It gets
not
worse,
be
trust
in
me.
a studio.
I
So
think it's worse.
we so I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son, and my wonderful wife Nicole, and we are raising them in Lake County, which is a really beautiful place. It's
Mhm.
amazing. We're blessed to be in this community, great quiet neighborhood. We just feel like it's a great place. They
Yeah.
go to good schools, and they are the best of Nicole and I, but they also have that that little fierce competitiveness of Nicole and I. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's
It's a
just
good thing.
a great fun. Yeah, so it's good. So I would consider myself a dad when I it's 24/7, right? It never
Yeah.
stops. Whatever I do, if I travel, I'll come back on a red eye, or I'll come back, as soon as I can, because, at some point it was, if I was gone for 3 days, 4 days, my little toddler, has learned so many things in those few days. I
Yeah,
don't want to
sure.
miss them. Now it's like, Dad, when are you coming home? Come home. We miss you. And it's like, yeah, you know what? This is what it's about. So I try to get back as quick as I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. So Steve and I were pretty particular, I guess, about who comes on the show, and we've been asking you for a while. We've gotten to know you over the last couple of years, and I think from a personal level, I mean, meeting you and Nicole, and quite honestly, the whole crew that's here at
Yeah.
the collab has definitely changed my life. Like,
yeah.
I can't say how grateful enough, and we'll get the sappy shit out of the way, but like, seriously, I feel so fortunate to know you and Nicole, your family. I've met your children, everyone except for James in the office here.
There is a James here.
Yeah,
Have you
right.
met him? No.
Yeah.
No,
He's
that
been on
guy.
the show a few times. But no, seriously, I think that, we Steve and I talk quite a bit about how deciding to do this silly podcast has changed our outlook on fatherhood. It's changed our outlook just on almost every aspect of our lives. And
I think it's just opened up a lot of doors for us. And
It really has.
We've met a lot of awesome people. I think, like, to feed off what Ian's saying, coming here into the studio when we first found out about this, and you'd met Sanjay. And,
How did that happen?
yeah, I don't even. That's what I'm trying to remember because I remember
James.
It was
It
James.
was Secret Society,
Okay.
and we had met maybe once or twice before then.
I think what you kind of thought was that we looked really legit because we were in this one studio before, and you're like, I want these guys in my front, conference room here.
I did.
And like, these guys are probably like big time.
It has proved to be one of my most prescient decisions ever.
You can't use big words here.
Can you use that one? Can you repeat that?
Don't you have the little letters that pop up?
We'll have that. It'll throw it up on the screen. Yeah.
No, I mean, seriously, though, it's been amazing. We can't believe that we're going on year 3 of this podcast. And really, I don't know what we would have done if we wouldn't have found this place. And then, but again, it's more than a cool backdrop and in the middle of downtown Willoughby, which are all great things. But it's more like the contacts that we've made and the relationships that we've built have really pushed the show further than we could have imagined.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Like, for example, when you had your grand opening and you invited us to come here for that, and you had us stand up there with you. That was pretty awesome, man. We appreciate that kind of stuff because, like, it's pretty big. Like, we're just this, like Ian said, this silly podcast, like a couple of dads hanging out and drinking bourbon, and it's like we're on 100 episodes now. Yeah, and we've become friends with you guys and met people, and
I've known Billy.
We've known him for a long time. Actually, I met Bill when we first started our podcast.
Oh, really?
At the grand opening for the Marco's place.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, we appreciate everything though, man. This is awesome. Like Ian said, your wife's amazing. She's an amazing person. She's awesome. You guys are great. You guys invited us to the gala that back, what was it, like 2 summers ago?
Yeah. We'll get into that for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. So anyway, enough of us sitting here just kissing your ass.
Well,
right.
Seriously though, thank you guys. This is a big episode. I remember your first few episodes when I was always like, how do you guys know what else to ask? Do you have a list? And you're like, no, we just kind of go with the flow. I'm like, that doesn't work. I would just sit there and look at everybody. And then you think about how I'm going to use other words, matriculation. I can't think of anything else. Into.
Put it across the bottom.
It'll change after this.
Oh, let me open.
Yes, can we talk about this?
Let's talk about that real quick.
So anyway, thank you guys. I've seen you grow. This is a big episode. This is awesome. And one thing that's so important that I think might be one of the themes here that I'd love to teach my children more, because we didn't have it coming into this country. When I was 4, my parents didn't have any connections or relationships. And to me, that is the most important thing out of anything. You have a guy or a gal for certain things. You have somebody who can give you insight, somebody who can give you a leg up, somebody who wants you here to be part of something bigger without always having an agenda, collaborating. You got friends who do a lot of things for each other, right? And it's been amazingly good to have that ecosystem.
You've built something really, really cool here, and it's called the CoLab. So it's a play on words. It's collaborations, and it's a lab where people are getting shit done, and you're cooperating and all that stuff. But it is so incredibly accurate for the culture that is in this building.
Yeah.
And I love that so much. I love being here. I love walking in, in the middle of the week and saying hi to some of the people that are working here. And it is just a little community here that has been, again, a huge part of the reason we are still doing this show and been able to grow it the way that we have.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
I agree 100%. It is.
We've done shows in different places, and we were kind of homeless for a little while. And not that it wasn't.
Can you imagine where we would be if we never found this spot?
I don't know.
I don't think, for example, if we just kept doing it in your basement.
Right.
Well, we'd be done because for how many months you've been in an apartment. So,
but look, I mean, you guys can do this show and this content from anywhere because you're passionate about this. You're interesting. You take effort to learn about your guests, and as you do that, it's on the camera. This place, I think, has provided you guys the vehicle to get away and focus on the show.
It has.
Yes, absolutely.
But especially in a critical time stage of this show, right? Like we were 4 or 5 episodes in when we started.
Yeah,
coming here. 6 episodes, maybe.
Yeah.
Where we were really at
about
that juncture of, I mean, as you know, with any kind of business or project, like there is a point pretty early on where is it going to work? Is it not? And not that we ever really had doubts that the show itself wouldn't work, but without the vehicle of a home, it would have just been that much more difficult.
Yeah.
And so
because we've had that,
feel good
came to that
here.
crossroads a couple times where it's like,
yeah.
should we keep doing this or?
Right.
And then I think we were both in agreement that like, we should keep moving this thing forward because having guests and people telling us like, this actually is very important. This is a huge thing. You know, it's almost like a dad movement, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And this is part of you guys, right? And it's that creativity, it's that joy, it's that connection. But just like being a dad, it's not just doing one thing. We are fathers, right? We are guides, we are protectors, we are confidants, at some point we are collaborators and conspirators. There's so much to who we are. And the thing I've learned about people who really I've connected with, especially on a, male to male level, right? It's not a business transaction. It's not just a buddy. It's understanding that whoever we look at, what you do for your day job is not who you are, right?
Right.
It's often something that you're really good at and you focus at it, but there's so much more to us.
There's more. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this whole multifaceted entity of being a dad, of a person, of a community member is the richest story of all.
I mean,
it's so incredibly well said.
and
I think that just says it better than what I was trying to articulate is that like, no, I mean, seriously,
you're
though,
right,
like
though, yeah.
this environment that we've put ourselves in. And again, it's not here at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. It's just being a part of the collab, has helped us to really understand people, right?
For sure.
Like, whether, whoever we're talking to, we can shoot the shit for a little while. And then all of a sudden it becomes, okay, well, maybe we're going to talk about something in business. And then all of a sudden it's, well, hey, like, how does that relate to being a dad? And that's literally what we do on the show.
It goes full circle. Yeah.
Is we try and, take who the person is and correlate that to parenting.
Yeah.
And so I think this environment has helped propel our understanding of that relationship of that a man has with himself. Like, I am not just a day job. I am more than that.
Well, I think
all of that circles back into being a father.
I think that just being around all of you guys in general has helped me to, because I mean, we've had this conversation. I'm like, you guys were like, oh, you should come with us to our meetings and all that. I'm like, oh, I'm not a business owner. I just work this job. It's like, come on.
Right.
You're more than that. And it's like, okay, well, it helps me to realize that, there's more to it than just, like you said, a day job. There's more to me than just that. So just hanging around you guys, and like Tony Robbins said, proximity is everything, right?
Yeah.
So just being around all of you guys and just hanging out, man, it's been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate everything. It's been a good time. And by the way, I stopped in here the last 2 days to put our YouTube videos on.
You were the one.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was here a couple days. And let me tell you, I hope we get into that Tony Robbins.
We definitely will.
That was amazing. Really good. I'd love to, maybe riff with you guys on some of the
absolutely.
stuff we learned about.
We definitely get into that. And like, I think spending that 5 days here, like after we were done, I was like, oh man, this is like home for a little bit, it's like, that's why I like coming back in here all the time. It just feels like home.
Those 73 and a half hours are really beneficial.
Definitely, man. It was.
So look.
All right.
To get into the whiskey here.
So went on a little trip last week with the family to a place called Maui, and on the Big Island on Hawaii, there's an old poly road, right? And so I wanted to bring something back local. I sent you guys a picture of what's on the shelf, and you're like, "There's nothing there." I'm like, darn it! I thought I was gonna find that one thing that you guys
like some type of unicorn.
Oh my gosh, get it! Right?
Yeah,
right. Like, no. So this is a haunted road, right? And so it kind of connects with downtown Willoughby and the haunted ancient stuff. This road's closed down. It's a 2.5 mile road, and you can hike it, but it's got something called the night marchers that haunt it. So I don't know the story behind it. Didn't have time. But I thought it was cool. That said, this was started by a Marine Corps veteran who was in Iraq, and he was always curious about the what is it called? What's the moonshine? What's the word you guys use for it?
Hooch?
Beginning with the H. I don't know if that
Hooch?
was the right word.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
want to say
Hooch.
something that
Yeah.
meant something
I
else.
think that's actually a prison term, but Marine Corps prison, same shit.
So, isn't that the toilet wine, Hooch?
He's same shit. Yeah.
Toilet wine,
That's
yeah.
where that term comes
So
from.
he was like, what are you guys doing? And anyway, this is like a unique thing. I think it says 95% is aged 5 years and like 5% of his aged like 1 year or something. So
Okay.
I have no idea if that's good or not. It's whiskey. It's not bourbon, but it's corn based. So let's see how this goes, right?
Yeah.
Take a look
I
at
see
the
the veteran
bottle.
made on the
So,
back, which is always.
I was trying to see if there was a mash bill at all to tell whether or not it can
What's on the back? Just a big, like a story.
Yeah, there's a little story, and I won't bore everyone with reading it, but this is pretty cool. I like the bottle on it. It's and I like a story.
I'm interested in the haunted road, though. I'm interested
Yeah.
in that whole story there.
Yeah.
Look that up.
So how was your trip?
Yeah, because I mean, I know that leading into that
nice
was
to
kind
get
of
away.
Yeah, it was short, which means so it was just 6 days, right?
Mhm.
And so that includes the travel
Right.
on each end. And we had to go to New Jersey to go to San Francisco to go to Maui. So
Right.
we're talking literally 23 hours later with the layovers. That was rough. That was rough.
That is brutal.
That was
Oh,
rough.
that's fast.
So, we have the kids and stuff. So by the time we got there, it was awesome. We settled in. We went on the road to Hana, which
Yeah.
fifth most dangerous road in the world. Schleicher actually went on it, and he said literally 10 minutes before they got to the top, this big boulder came down on the road. And
Really?
They all had to wait for somebody to come break it up and clear it, and that could have been them. You're looking over these cliffs, and you're seeing like ocean and rocks and all this stuff, and then your guide is telling you the one-lane roads with really the ones that even have guardrails. It's like they're like 60 years old. It's like there's nothing left. It's overgrown.
Yeah.
You just have to know your way. Driving that at night, there's no lights. That would be ridiculous, right?
That'd be insane.
So we were in the day, and then you hear stories like, I'm like, what's that little flag there? Oh yeah, last summer some woman was here with her 13-year-old son,
Oh.
and she wasn't paying attention. He fell down this cliff, and they got everybody, and they rushed down. They called medics. They rushed down to the bottom of the cliff before where it meets the ocean and whatever and the rocks, and they said they determined that boy died before he even hit the bottom, because it was just
Right.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
and then
The pictures looked insane. And
It
and I've
doesn't
heard
even
of
do
that
justice.
road
No.
before, but it's been a long, long time.
Mhm.
And then when I don't know if it was you or Nicole that posted pictures, but I was like really into it. And I was like, man, I want to talk about this. Like,
Yeah.
that's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
That, you don't find in Lake County.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
What do you mean?
Well, you do find this. There's, the locals who live there, which is mostly Americans. So the locals are not local Hawaiians per se, natives. They're Americans who
transplants
decided
that,
to,
yeah.
just retire there or
Yeah.
whatever. And they don't love all the traffic coming up there. So
Sure.
sometimes you have a one-lane road, somebody has to yield. So we had a spot where, like, our guy who was native Hawaiian didn't want to yield to the locals, and he already said the locals are always grumpy, and so he didn't yield. So they were like, one guy got out of the car, are you gonna move? He's like, no, you can make it. And so they he had to fold in his mirrors so they could
Oh
squeeze
my.
by, because nobody wanted to back up. It's
Wow.
So is it the most dangerous road because people are just like,
Because people don't want to yield.
unforgiving?
And I heard also 2 years ago, there was an MMA fighter there visiting with a rental car, and one of the locals got out and was going to fight him because of that contention. And the MMA guy just dropped this guy, and they said, like, this guy's jaw was like dangling off. And then the MMA fighter guy just took off. And by the time any police or anything
Right.
came, that was it. Can't
Well, here's a life lesson for you. I know road rage is tough,
Yeah.
but you never know who you're starting with. You don't know what they're gonna do. You don't know. You hear
How-
these stories about people shooting people. Like
Yeah.
it's like you just gotta
Well, we talked
get.
about this
We
not
have
that
to, yeah.
long
We did.
ago
You don't know what these
about,
people are
like,
going through.
road rage and or like rage in general. It's like, I don't know if it's just getting older or what it is, but if you can learn to, I mean, I think part of it is becoming a father.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to learn some patience. And if you can take that patience outside of your children and into the real world, you know, it can only help you because you just don't know what that other person is going through at that time.
Yeah, we've talked. Yeah, I guess it was a couple weeks ago. We're like,
Yeah.
you don't know if they're rushing to an emergency, like one of their kids at school or,
Right.
something, or going to a hospital or something.
Yep.
It's like you don't know what's going on. So just
Context.
it pisses you off
nothing
to when
good.
someone cuts you off or something like that. Yeah, nothing comes from good from road rage.
Right.
I mean,
it's context,
Yeah.
context. You know.
You know, I do have a story about that. It's a story from one of my brother's friends. This guy's a giant. All right, he's just a huge guy, like a very intimidating guy. And he was driving, and this guy cut him off, and he was getting all crazy. The guy tells him, pull over. He's like, okay. So he pulls over in front of this guy. And as this guy's trying to get out of his car, my brother's friend, his name's Jason, he's getting out of his car already. He starts sprinting at this guy, rips his shirt off, and he's just running right at this guy's car, full sprint. This guy gets in his car, immediately just zooms off.
Is it Jason that I think is Jason?
No, no. He's a big dude too.
He would do that.
Yeah, he would. He would definitely take his shirt off. You know, one of my brother's friends,
That's
like,
the
what
first
his
thing I thought of.
signature move was whenever this guy got drunk.
Yeah, we'd
You
be
would know.
playing beer pong.
Yeah, like instantly his shirt's off. We'd be at a bar.
So
He's just one of those guys.
I think that's an indicator of your level of sanity at that moment. So if you take off your shirt, that means like, look, I'm really gonna rumble, and I don't want to wrinkle up my shirt.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
if
I don't want to dirty my
wintertime-
shirt.
It's wintertime. You're taking off your shirt.
This guy's
Nuts.
This
so
guy's
I'm
insane.
outta here.
Yeah, drive
He's got
away.
nothing to lose.
Yep.
He's gonna go all in.
yeah.
Again,
You're like
context matters.
Exactly.
What time of year is it? What's
yeah. You're like
Do
it's
I-
winter. This guy's shirt's off. He's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
I should not have told him to pull
Guy
over.
means business.
Right. I meant.
I meant pull over. I thought you had a flat tire. I was just trying to help you.
I meant cardigan. Nice
Right,
cardigan.
That's what I was going.
This cardigan. Thanks for asking. Yeah, killer boots, man.
All right,
guys try this
ready?
yet?
Let's try it.
All right, let's try it. Cheers.
To 100.
Yeah, so
100.
100.
Whoa, that's different.
So it's lighter. Well, it's 86 proof.
That is that's pretty tasty though.
It's
That
interesting.
is,
Does it have like a tropical flavor to it? What am I tasting here? Is it like a tropical fruit?
Well, the water is from the rocks, right? In
Okay.
Hawaii. That's how they get their water.
Mhm.
You know, right? Because you're around ocean.
Yeah.
That's it. Rainwater going through the dirt, through the rocks, filtering, and that's how they get all their
It's
water.
like a natural spring type
I
thing.
was gonna say
I'm
instead
not
of
so sure.
oak, it tastes more like palm trees.
I can see that.
Tastes like
Pineapples.
coconuts.
No, it's
Pineapples.
good. It's tasty. It's refreshing almost.
It's
It actually is. It's
light compared
It's
to
light.
bourbon.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. I
like
all
it, though.
kinds of whiskey though.
So leading up to your vacation, by the way, because we were here while you're trying to schedule this whole thing, and originally you were going to go somewhere else. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, but I know you guys went through some fun stuff before you guys planned Hawaii.
Some tribulations.
Yes.
Yeah. We we started with
What is it?
I'm just joking. I know what that one means.
our initial conveyance indicated that we should probably be so it was going to be Hawaii, and I had many miles for years, and I'm like, I can get all this cool stuff for myself in this part being a dad too. One of my key themes is sacrifice, right?
Mhm.
I didn't realize how much my parents sacrificed for me, and I've got stories about that, but until I had my children, right?
Yes,
and I
absolutely.
realized, oh my gosh, you
It's an
can do
eye-opener.
anything for these kids. The sleepless nights, every little financial decision you make, the ability for you to, not watch what you want to watch and instead watch Bunked or Liv and Maddie or when, whatever Disney thing is on.
Yep.
That's what you learn, and you
Right.
try to like it because that's their world you're living in.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Hawaii was planned, and then they had this, restriction around really staying at the hotel and the resort immediately and not leaving into the town. They were very strict about it. We said, that doesn't seem like fun. We're going to do all that travel and not be able to go too far. Let's cancel it. So we canceled it. And then we said, let's go to Turks and Caicos, which it's like 5.5 hours and
Yeah.
very reasonable. So my miles still went a long way and, had everything taken care of. And then we realized we needed passports. So my wife and I have passports. The kids have passports, but they expire. They expire 5 years, every 5 years.
Yeah.
Instead of the normal 10.
Yeah, and you can't renew them. You have to get new ones. And by the way, the kids have to be there with both parents. And with COVID, there's no application centers here that, it's like 12-week process. You have to go and try to book in, I think it's Buffalo, DC, Detroit. We were looking at all of them to get an appointment. We're going to go drive and do it.
That's insane.
Yeah, and couldn't get anything. Called them, told them we're leaving. They're like, no, here's a tip. This site that you're looking at, it refreshes appointments at midnight. So if you get on there at midnight, you can check if there's any cancellation. So for 2 nights, I was getting up at midnight until, I remember the first night, 12:23. The second night, 12:17. I'm like, oh, it's not working. Finally, we're like, all right, let's do Hawaii. And so I got half the trip for double the miles. And so I'm like, all right, we're going to have to pay for this hotel. So let's just go, get in and get out. And I'll tell you what, it was amazing. Great place.
So it worked out.
Beautiful. At 50% capacity, it was still starting to get a little crowded in places.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? Like how we think now, like with crowds.
Yeah, how you judge things. Yeah.
It's just,
I don't
it's
like
weird.
crowds. I like things to myself.
Well, we've had
now
a
a year of it, and you're like, okay, well, this isn't too bad. Like, we don't have a ton of stuff going on. There's small crowds everywhere. Everything's easier. There's no lines for things. I went to the Indians game the other day. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
yeah, Ian was with me. Yeah.
How was that?
It was awesome.
It was, we were well taken care of. So it was a little bit different even, from going to a normal game. But even so, like looking around, like to go to the bathroom, whatever, like there was you didn't really have to interact with anyone. It was great.
Do they still have the troughs anywhere?
No, those are gone.
long
Troughs
gone,
are
but
great,
those were
man.
Great.
They should have those everywhere. So
It's
disgusting.
great until somebody sits on
You
them.
should put
What?
one in here, actually.
A trough?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know how many people go to the bathroom at the same time. This place is always packed.
Well, listen, if we learned anything during our 5 days of business mastery,
We need a few troughs. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
We need a separate bathroom.
We do. We need a pit and a trough.
You know what
Yeah.
we need is poopery.
oh,
Ooh,
You know anything about that?
that would have helped.
Mm-hmm.
It helps,
Yeah.
especially when there's crowds or a party.
Yeah, and somebody
Poopery
doesn't
works.
know how to turn on the fan, in there.
And they mess with the lights, and
And
the
then
lights
they
don't
break
turn
the
on.
light.
Yeah, you can't turn the light back on,
All
and it's
right,
beeping,
all
and then
all right.
and then somebody has to fix it the next day
Yep,
because
man.
they're tired of the beep, 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 beep.
I'm like, what is that beeping? I
Yeah.
thought it was a fire alarm in the basement that you just put down there. Making me crazy.
Good times.
Good times. Well, so while we're on the business mastery thing,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm like jumping around. I'm sorry.
So it was a great trip. We learned a lot.
Kids had a good time.
They did. We went to bed at 8 p.m. every night because that was actually 6 hours behind.
Well, it's exhausting, and
Yeah.
that time change is exhausting.
And-
Trying to adjust to
Right.
that.
And even at 50% capacity of the hotel, you had to get up at 5 a.m. to go put your towels on the
Go to your spot at the pool.
chairs, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's always that whole, you can see the bleary-eyed dads.
Just strolling down.
Usually the dads are the ones doing it.
Yep.
And I'm like, this one guy was like coming this way and there's only one set of chairs left. And I remember, I'm like, oh no, my daughter wanted this one because she saw a cat there yesterday.
So
And
you
he-
ripped your shirt off and ran full sprint towards him.
And he jumped in the pool and started swimming away.
I was about to. But he
Boom.
looked, it was great. He stopped and paused and looked this way. And then I went behind him. It was terrible.
Unbelievable. It's amazing what you'll do for pool spots.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, remember my bachelor party?
Oh, yeah.
We had to get down to the pool early.
I
It
know.
would sound like one guy down
Was
there.
it that early?
No, it was probably 9 o'clock. But it was early after being out till 5 in the morning.
Right,
And
right.
they put these little nasty grams like, hey, we did our 8 o'clock check. And if you're not here in 90 minutes, we might, take away your towels and whatever. And
Hot commodities, man.
yeah, they never did that. But, we did. We wanted to reserve our spot because
Sure.
we wanted the experience. And that's why we took the kids there. That's why we wanted to do it. We wanted to give them that experience. And I don't think they'll ever forget it. Right?
No,
Sure.
absolutely.
Got to
That's an
do it.
amazing
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah. So
That's
very
amazing.
happy.
Congrats.
Glad to be back. I'll tell you what, though, on a short vacation, you do so much that by the time we hit our residence, it was time to go home. But I felt, with all the travel, with all the, defying death on the roads and all of these
All the
things,
excitement.
and whale watching and all the things we did. My Monday morning, by the time I got adjusted again, we got back Friday. Monday morning, I was kind of adjusted. I got up, made my coffee, got in front of my emails, and to me, I felt like,
It's
now I
relaxing.
can go. It's terrible.
It
That's
is
an
very strange how that
affliction, but
works,
yeah.
man. Like you go on a vacation and like getting back into your normal routine is like, oh, it's nice.
Well, it's the whole thing too.
You start thinking about it like halfway through. That's the worst part,
start
though.
thinking about it before.
Well, you start
right?
thinking about like, okay, what am I have to prep for this? I have to get everything ready. I have to,
Right.
tie up all the loose ends, make sure everything's ready, and then when I get back, I know that it's going to be a pain in the ass because I'm going to have all these emails I'm going to have to take care of, all this shit, and it sucks that you think about that stuff during the vacation.
Right.
And I will say this: I went to the Outer Banks one year, and it was my whole family, like my brothers and their wives and my mom. And at the time, there was only one child. It was my niece Mila.
Did you say your brothers, your wives?
Their wives.
Their wives. Okay.
Yeah, my wives. You don't know that? I have multiple, man. Don't worry about it. But no, I remember sitting there all week, and I was checking my emails for work, and I was doing work while I was there, and I was stressed out about something that was going wrong, and I had to take care of it. And when I should have just let the other people in my office take care of it, and I could have just enjoyed myself. And I always remember that because I'm like, I will never do that again because it ruined my vacation.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a family vacation like that since. And I always think about that. I'm like, damn, I let that ruin my time. I was stressed out the entire vacation. It was such a waste.
And the company would survive with
And they were fine without me being there. And they didn't need me to take care of it because somebody else could have taken care of it for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we last year, or more than a year ago now, started planning Disney. So we were supposed to go, so Steve and his family, my family, and then another one of our friends and his family.
Nice.
We started planning in like November, maybe?
We had it all figured out, man.
And we were supposed to go April of last year. And of course it ended up getting canceled. But like even the planning of the trip, because with 3 different families going, and we did an Airbnb, so we were trying to find the right place for,
for all of us,
how many bedrooms that you need for the amount of, there was 6 adults and 7 kids.
Wow.
So it was going to be an undertaking and all of that. And I remember doing these like little planning sessions that we had.
Yeah, we'd meet
and
up
it
at
was just like, wow, this seems like a lot of work. Like, and then there's Disney. So you're talking work every single day, getting the kids up and making sure that you hit the rides at the right time.
Well, that's the thing is,
getting
like,
in the right line.
I've never been there before. Like, I mean, I was there once and I was 19 years old. That was my first time I ever went. And so I didn't think about when you go with a family and how you have to schedule everything. Like, you have to schedule your time at this ride and this and that. And it's like, this is insane.
I actually remember when in one of our like roundtable discussions that we were having, and mostly it's the wives that have already blogged all this kind of stuff, and they're trying to figure.
We just kind of
have an
sat
idea.
there.
And I remember Steve looking up like, "Dude, is this even going to be fun?" I'm like, "It will be fun. Don't worry."
Because that's what I kept thinking. I'm like, this is going to be like pure stress.
Right.
Like we have to be here. We have to. I don't on a vacation. I mean, you do want to schedule things, but I don't like to. I almost like not having anything scheduled, where you can just be like, except for maybe a dinner or something. Like, just go do whatever the hell you want all day, and you'll just figure it out as you go.
Well, it's not, but it's not like Cedar Point or something like that.
Well, Cedar Point is like, I'm going to go to this
where
ride.
The day takes you.
Yeah, we're by this ride. Let's just go here next.
But if you do that in Disney,
you're screwed.
You're missing out. Like you can walk around and see things, and you can still have a good time, but you're not going to maximize your trip. And so, but yeah, I just remember thinking like, oh no, like it's a lot of people, and you don't want anyone else to be disappointed, and well, we're all going to drive separately to the park, so that way if someone's kids need to go home, like you can, it's just all this like moving parts. And
but we had it all figured out, man. We had the house, we had the cars, we had everything.
Yeah,
it's all figured out. And then like March, boom, COVID.
Sorry guys, can't go.
It sounds like 2 things. One, no man needs a vacation more than the man who just returned from vacation, right? And that's totally true in every case that I've ever been in, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
But also, as humans, we want to maximize every opportunity we've got. So we do all this planning. We go to places where everybody else is going. It becomes stressful, right? And so how is that a vacation when it's very stressful, right? So I think there's like even when we went to Disney, I used to present down in Orlando. So we went to Disney 2 or 3 years in a row. And, we heard all these tips like, if you go in the morning, start as soon as you get into the park, go left. because everybody goes right. So you won't really see the crowds until halfway through the day, right? I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then do your fast pass stuff and things like that. But like, how do you like, it's stressful thinking about that day, getting all the kids. Did you forget anything? You know, if you park, how far is that? You got to take a tram in. And
by the way, dad hack, if you're going to Disney, pay for the VIP parking.
It's all worth it.
A couple years ago when we went, my wife was so mad at me because it was like
2 miles.
It's like $80 or something like that for the extra parking.
Okay.
And it's per day. And like, there's no in and out privileges, but we're like, you know what? I'm doing this. And you get right up to the front. And it is. It's probably 3 miles.
But that's
from
necessary
where
when you
parking
have.
is. It was worth, with the little kids, it was worth every penny.
Well, like you said, like stressing out about like, do we have everything?
Right.
You know, those kind of thoughts. Like, that's difficult going to any activity at home.
Going to the park.
You're like,
snacks, diapers.
Yeah, you're
whatever.
like, okay, I got to get to the kids' swim lessons. And every other Saturday I do it by myself, which is not a big deal. It's easy with the two of them now because they're a little bit older. It's easier to maneuver them. But like, it's the same thing. I'm like, okay, bathing suit, towels, change of underwear, goggles, all the bullshit. I'm like, okay, and then we got to go because it's like 20-minute drive for me. But it's like, that's stressful. But then when you think about a trip, when you're like, okay, can we leave the park? Can we go back to the hotel or the house and have to go pick all this shit up? Are we going to miss our group that we're with? Are we going to miss this ride? That's stressful.
Well, and part of that stress comes from, like you said, trying to maximize your opportunity, right?
Yes.
Like a vacation is a special thing. Like we all work very, very hard, and we inherently want to provide that experience for our family.
Yep.
And so
you feel responsible.
You
do.
Feel
I think you
right?
Like naturally
this
feel
vacation's
responsible.
not for me; it's for the kids.
Yes. And I want them to appreciate, or at least understand, that dad came through.
Right. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And you know, and I feel like they might not realize that, like you said earlier, like you don't realize the sacrifices, right? And that's the funny thing is, like, you don't really think about what your parents are going through to make these things happen for you.
Yeah. And that changes over time too, because you know, your little kids, if you say hi and you talk to a Disney character, you know,
the magic.
You know, how do you know that? How did you get them to come over here and pose with me? That's magic, right?
Yeah.
And then later on, you know, it's like my son used to, you know, we'd watch football and we'd play basketball, and he was like 5 or 6. And it's like, Dad, you're so good at everything. You're so good at football. And how do you make all those shots in basketball? You know, and then it was like, Dad, you can take that guy. You're bigger than that guy, right? You're stronger than him, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
those
Right.
football players. I'm like, well, I mean,
your dad.
and then after a little time, when he was like 8, and he's like, Dad, that guy's pretty big. Are you strong? And I'm like, well, you know, his job is to work out. So he probably could beat me with his stamina on some stuff. But I mean, if I worked out every day, I mean, and my son would be like, yeah. Now it's like, my son is like 11 and 12. He's like, Dad, that dude.
That guy right there,
I don't even
you
think
don't
he'd
stand
know
a chance.
if you hit him. He wouldn't even know.
You're right, though, man.
So it's that evolution of them, but it's that nurturing of the idea or fallacy that we are impervious to anything. That's what a dad should be. Never weak, never not knowing the next move, never not being able to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Yes.
In control.
And
In control.
magical to some degree.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's those things that the kids find magical. They're like, wow, Dad, how did you do that? It's amazing. It's pretty cool to see, like, to have a human look up to you like that, right?
Well, and
It's pretty amazing. Like, go ahead.
The cool thing is you don't even need the instant gratification of that. I think that you're almost striving for years down the road, the remembrance of that trip or of that activity where, yeah, Dad did this for us. And we, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's a long game of being the provider, being the person that came through.
And I think that, like, having that, and then also realizing in the moment that, like, the vacation, like you said, it's for the kids, it's for the family. It's not about you.
Yeah.
Like, so try it, like, when you're at a vacation and you get stressed out, trying to make it just seem like everything's okay. I'm not stressed out, like, because they'll remember that kind of shit. And that kind of stuff feeds off, you know, they feed off that, right? They feel your anxiety. They feel your stress. So try to just be like, okay, this is for the kids. It's not for me.
It is.
And then you can relax when you get home.
Right. Because I'm bearing the brunt of that.
Yeah.
It's
to make it for them.
And this one I like, Nicole's birthday was also, that week. So I like the bang for the buck. It was for all of them.
Smart.
But the, oh gosh, what was I going to say? The motivator for me, the thing that I love that still gets me and that I still want to do until I can't anymore, showing something to the kids, and you guys will know this moment where you see their eyes go like this and they can't believe it. Like they walk into a room and it's decorated, they see the Easter bunny for the first time. Mm-hmm. You delight them in a way that you're watching them, and that is 10x in terms of the effort in relation to the joy that you get. And
absolutely,
so I look for those opportunities everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you have to appreciate that kind of stuff. Like last Saturday was Easter Eve. Mm-hmm. We went out to dinner, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So then I was like, we were talking. Ian and I were like, well, let's go do a podcast.
You have lamb?
After. No
sacrifice.
There might have been lamb actually in the meatballs.
Oh, I think there was actually.
So I did have.
You did a
lamb.
good job.
Yeah. See, I knew what I was doing.
Very nice.
But
pork.
We were going to do a podcast. We're like, we should do a podcast. And the wife was like, maybe you guys should just do it tomorrow. So I told Ian, I'm like, dude, I have so much stuff to do when I get home. I have to get all the Easter baskets put together. And what I do is I put the Easter bunny's footprints around the house. So what you do is you make like a stencil of a big hole and then like 3 little holes in a piece of paper. And then you put flour in the holes and you make footprints.
Talking about a bunny print.
Bunny prints around the house. So anyway, the magic was the next morning. Sam comes into our room at like 6 and he's so excited. He's like, the Easter bunny was here. I'm like, oh yeah? He's like, okay. He set out Easter eggs down the hall that led into the dining room, and his footprints are all through the house. And he's like, and it leads to our baskets. He's like, I didn't look at them. So I'm waiting for you guys. But he, like the excitement, he's just standing at the end of our bed telling us like everything about all the details. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I fucking nailed it.
This Easter bunny came in and defiled your home.
He ate my carrots.
Left footprints every time.
He left footprints and carrot crumbs all over the house. Little bastard, man.
Yeah.
It's broken into my back door.
No respect.
No
respect.
You enjoy that because of the joy for the kids.
Yeah.
Right.
But you also talked about, and this is something that I think I've never heard other opinions on this, but you talk about like getting the kids swim stuff together and taking them. Is that kind of job, that component of it being the organizer and also being the nurturer, are those native to fathers, or are those things we really have to work at hard?
Go ahead.
I have to work at it.
I think the wives seem to do a better job of being like,
it's so natural.
Natural for them.
Natural.
A lot of stuff is natural for them.
And I don't know if that's fair because I've never been a mom.
That's true. I think we assume that it's natural for them. Maybe it is work. I mean, it's got to be work, right? I mean, everything's work. But I feel like it's not. I feel like that's something that we have to strive for, and it's a little more difficult, and it's more of a task. Because I do wake up those mornings where it's like, okay, well, Liz is working this Saturday, and I have to make sure I take care of everything today. And I mean, I have to make breakfast, I have to take him to swim, and then I have to come home, do lunch, and then whatever else we have to do, which is not a big deal. That's just what I do. For the most part, it's just a standard Saturday. Mm-hmm. But you're right, though. That is work at the same time, because you almost are like, okay, I got to get up. I got to make sure we get out of the house at 9:30.
Sure.
So now I got to start packing this bag, and I have to get them dressed. It takes them a half hour to get their shoes on. I swear to God, man.
Right.
I'm like, why are your shoes not on yet?
Right.
Because they have no concept of time and they don't care.
Right.
Number one.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, why? I'm like, how many times do I have to tell you to put your shoes on? Just put your shoes on.
Time is such a grown-up thing that is so stifling. It's oppressive. It is a problem, right?
Yeah, and you look at your kids, you're like, why don't you understand that we're late? Why don't you understand that?
Once you learn the value of time, and I don't think you learn that until, I don't even want to say you're an adult. I think it's well into adulthood that you finally realize the value of time.
Yeah.
And it changes your life.
It does.
And I don't know if it's for the better.
Time, we define it as like, time lapsing, meaning like, what did I accomplish in the past hour versus like, oh man, why do I have to do this at 9:00 instead of later?
Right.
Yeah.
For the kids, it's like, I wake up when I want. It's Saturday every day. Why does this school
getting in the way?
Me up so unnaturally?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm stuck there till what time?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they want that freedom, but it's kind of interesting. One of the things I was thinking about on the way over here is what, I think it's native for dads to teach, you know, and to model, right? Meaning like Albert Bandura, right? Social modeling theory, monkey see, monkey do. I love to show my kids what to do by me doing it. Right?
Yeah.
I think for me, that's my native resonance. I want to show my, daughter how to solve math problems based on a pattern that I learned that was really cool, that helped her. We did that last night. My son, I'm going to play a cool song on the piano. I want him to learn that from me. I want him to learn how to do some crazy throw with a football, spin around and throw it into a basket if I get lucky, right? I love doing that kind of stuff. I think back to when the kids are little babies, right? And they're young, very young. They want to be loved and nurtured, right? When they're infants and toddlers and young kids, they want to be taught. They ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
They're
eager to learn
about the world. That's your job, to teach them. And
they're curious. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I've just learned, having a 10-year-old girl now almost and a 12-year-old boy, the only thing they want in the teenager stage is not to be embarrassed by their parents. And it's like, I was trying to talk some cool Fortnite stuff, because I used to play Doom, 25
Hell yeah.
Doom,
IDKFA.
Castle, Wolfenstein,
Wolfenstein was amazing.
Oh my gosh. I tried to talk about something and they had the word, I forgot what the word was, but I was like, that doesn't make sense. I had another meaning of the word and I'm like, you should use this. And then I brought up some old term from like 25 years ago. I was like,
didn't work.
My friends can hear you, Dad, on the headset. He was like,
yeah,
so
right. Sorry.
They have no idea how cool I am. They have no idea, these kids.
They don't. They'll realize it one day.
And then my daughter too, it's like, don't embarrass me, whatever you do. Cause I'm like, I can do this dance. Watch this, and I'm just like, Dad, you're embarrassing me. So they don't want to be embarrassed. So I'm
that's
trying
number
to move
one.
into that phase of, look, you don't want to learn everything from me. You can. We did the modeling. We did the whole loving and nurturing, which we're still layering in. You're getting all that. But now I have to balance. As an adult, I don't really care what people think, right? You get beyond that. Remember in high school where you cared
about everything, man.
if your collar was like this.
You're hanging out on the wall at the dance, so it's like just doing one of these so that you don't like put yourself out there too much. Yeah. Not this guy.
Not this guy.
This guy was the man of the dance
now
floor.
It's like, who cares, right?
Yeah,
right.
I don't give a shit.
I'll do Kinergy all day.
I love Kinergy.
So how do we not embarrass our kids but still be cool? And so that's my balance. Right?
There's nothing.
Question,
is there any way to be cool at that age, like as a dad?
No.
Well, having a Tesla.
That's pretty badass.
That's probably
goes
true.
far. Goes far. That's the only thing where
I gotta get a Tesla before they're 12.
Unassailable, right?
So, in that stage where you can very clearly tell that the only thing that they really want is for you to not embarrass them, does that make you want to embarrass them more? Because I have a feeling that's who I am.
You ever see those videos
person.
of those like the mom or dad showing up to the school and they're just blasting like 2000s like rap?
The best is the dad that it was. It must have been before COVID, but like it was the bus came and so he must just work from home. I don't know, whatever it was, but he would dress up in like the most ridiculous. He would be in a chicken suit one day to get his kids off the bus. He would be, he would dress up like a jazzercise enthusiast. Like, I don't know. It was hilarious. I was watching this like whole compilation of videos and I was just like, dude, I want to be this person. That's like awesome. This dad's amazing.
Yeah, just embarrass the hell out of them.
Yeah.
So to the extent that I want to show them it doesn't matter what people think, I definitely
So you still want to go with the lesson, not just a...
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
That's absolutely a great thing.
I have a lot of... My gifts are... leveraging self-deprecating humility to put people at comfort, right? I use the Indian accent all the time.
Right.
I'm happy to be, made fun of by my family that I'm the clumsy guy, fall down the stairs and up the stairs, but I know I'm going to be okay with that. So to me, it's like, hey, look, it doesn't affect my level of happiness, my success, or my, ability to interact with the world, right? I'm not going to go into a shell because I think I don't want to be embarrassed, right? Even though I'm definitely a shyer person in general. Welcome back, Bill.
Hey, there he is. We're exciting.
No, I think that comes with confidence in your own intelligence, your emotional intelligence, your just being a human in this world. I think that, you know, like you said, when we were 12 or we were in middle school, you didn't necessarily have that confidence. You didn't want to embarrass yourself. But eventually along the way, you have to understand that what you think about yourself means more than anything else.
Yeah, who cares about other people's opinions?
And once you can break through that barrier, and that's a self-inflicted barrier that I think is just a natural barrier. Once you can break through that, though, it's a lot easier to be the guy that falls up the stairs and, you know, whatever, because you can have a good laugh about it and it's fun. You can get some sort of attention out of it. But then also you are very comfortable in your own skin that, you know, whatever it is, if you're going to a meeting later or you're going to bed and getting up for work the next day, it's business as usual. Like you're not going to dwell on that. Right. Whereas when you're younger and you don't have the confidence of that, that's something that you might dwell on for a long time.
There's still people that
can mess you up.
There's still people that are adults that still think that way.
Absolutely.
Right? They're still worried about what everybody else thinks, you know, like with their appearance or anything, just that self-confidence. And once you realize that it doesn't matter what outside parties think of you,
right?
What you think of yourself is the most important thing. What your family thinks of you, right? That's what's important. Getting past that, that's a huge barrier for some people.
Well, and I think that's an amazing, you know, going back to you want to be the one modeling and teaching your children. Like the quicker a child can understand that, I don't want to say the better off that they'll be, but the more chance for success that they'll have, because doors open when you're completely confident in your own abilities.
Yeah.
Yep. You're comfortable in your skin.
Right.
That's a good lesson. Like you said early on, that's a huge lesson because, and it's tough for teenagers to take that lesson in. There's a lot of things that you tell your kids, or like our parents told us, that were like, yeah, you know what the hell you're talking about. Your parents don't know anything.
Yep.
Right?
Parents
your biggest
don't understand.
They don't understand me. Biggest influence is your friends.
Yep.
Right? That's like the only thing. They know everything. Parents are like, yeah, whatever. They're just outside noise.
The world is different now.
You don't understand what it's like. It's like, nah. I know I look back at it, I'm like, fuck, my dad, all the advice he gave me was dead on. He nailed it. And I didn't take it all the time. There's a lot of advice I did take from him. But there's a lot of things that I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. You know?
Well, but that's a lesson too, though, that I try and remember that I remember this a lot of times when I am trying to teach my staff something, or, you know, going through some leadership principles that I'm trying to get them to understand, to take it down to their staff, is that you can read about something, you can learn something about a topic, and a lot of times, though, until you experience it, it's almost impossible to grasp the concept.
Yep.
Agreed.
But if you've been exposed to it before, and hopefully multiple times, then when it comes time to experience it, you're much more likely to be able to understand it and then move forward a lot quicker.
You just explained adult learning theory. So it's
Nailed it.
Based on foundation, right? So understanding what immersion, being in those situations and seeing it, reinforcement, which is again and again kind of seeing it or doing it, and then you finally get to mastery where you can handle it. That's the firm.
Well, I mean, that's what we use for children, so like that makes sense. Like,
there you go. You nailed it. So you did take
child
it.
learning theory as well.
I mean, it really is, though. We try and do that within the centers. Is okay. Like, it's okay that, you know, Timmy doesn't get this concept. We're going to do it again and again and again and again.
Timmys are always trouble.
Yeah,
Little Timmy. I'm telling you, little
You
Timmy.
don't see a lot of Timmys these days.
Maybe I'll name my next son Tim.
Yeah.
Tim.
You don't
Timmy.
see Steve's either.
Timma. Steve is not. Yeah, Steve's is not around anymore.
Steven. I knew a guy named Steve Stevens. He was very cool.
Obviously, his
Sounds
name was
pretty
Steve.
Cool. Twice.
I know.
Yeah,
I think his
double Steve.
middle name was
Stefan.
Stefan Stevens.
Steve with a
CPA.
EVE.
I don't
Then
know why
middle
I feel
name
like
is.
you'd be a CPA.
He sounds like he would be Steven Stevens.
more like
But his middle name's
Yeah,
middle
or
name
maybe
is
it's ESP,
Stephen.
Well, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are always a joke with our other Indian friend Raju. is there was a guy that we went to high school with.
Other Indian, for the only two.
No, we have many.
Yes. One of your many Indian
Yes.
friends. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Balraj,
Hedda,
Nisha,
Wow.
Ish.
Yeah, see?
Wow.
So, yeah. See?
Name droppers.
But a really good, yeah, sorry. Oh, Bick. There we go.
Bick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Could do.
Like Bikram?
Yes.
Bikram, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There you go. So, there was a guy we went to high school, his name was Tommy Thompson.
Oh yeah.
So, Raj always called me Steve Stevenson, and he was Rajuenson. So, that was always like our thing.
I love it.
So, yeah. When he said Steve Stevenson, I was like, holy shit, that was my nickname from Raj.
there you go.
There you go.
Huh.
There you go.
So, I think that we wanted to get into this at some point, was the business mastery thing.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. What do you guys want to talk about?
It's Tony Toninson.
Tony Tone, man, yeah, or Tony Tone.
So
what song was that? Did they have that
God,
tone? They had a couple.
they did have some big ones back in the day. There's a lot of songs to remember.
yeah.
Ian and I tried to go through some old like songs from like that we heard back in junior high. Remember that when Big E was on here?
Yeah, and
we
got in
got
trouble
red
by
flag.
YouTube.
Yeah, we played a
Yeah,
bunch of
'cause we were playing
old
songs
songs like that we heard like junior high school dances.
This was early on too.
Yeah.
And
Like,
we're like,
wow,
no one's watching
yeah.
this anyways. We'll probably be fine.
YouTube was all over us.
YouTube knows.
In 2005, I posted a video of my proposal to Nicole in India, taken by the hotel guy who had no idea how to use a camera. Half of the time it was on his crotch in the sky. And then he just got that moment where I proposed to Nicole, and you could hear him on the video. He said, oh, okay. Oh, he knew what was happening. And I got down on my knees and I gave her the speech. So I added it to a soundtrack, and I put this very, very like unheard of song. I don't even remember the artist. It was called For You, but I forgot. It's just really cool. I put it in there. I got it was called Best Wedding Proposal Ever. This is way back when, and I had 89,000 views within 3 or 4 months, tons of comments, and then I got DMCA flagged because even though I remixed that song and changed it so while I was talking, flagged it, and then by the time they didn't have the process online at the time where you can just
so
say
it took
it's
a while.
fair use.
Yeah,
you had to write a letter and all that stuff. So I'm not doing it. They blanked out the audio, so they blanked out not only the music but everything I said.
Really?
The views.
so they just stripped the audio completely from the video.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow. Back
Terrible.
in 2005.
2005, dude.
Man.
Wow.
It's light years ago. That was when Yahoo was still relevant.
Was Ask Jeeves might have been around too.
Ask Jeeves, Dogpile. Do you know Dogpile?
I mean, I have a few of those, but
Yeah, now you do.
Have you guys heard of DuckDuckGo?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. That actually is fast, relevant, and their funding model is a little bit different, which tells me they'll be around for a little bit.
Okay.
That's pretty neat. Google, in the early days, some of the things that people do, it's just crazy. So their 6th employee was Marissa Meyer, who actually took over Yahoo at a later date. And her background, she had a PhD in lexiconography,
Okay.
which is the study of icons.
Okay.
Think about this back in 1995 when Google 96.
It's probably got ridiculed for
Yeah.
getting a degree in that.
Right.
Yeah, right.
What the hell do you think?
And she was in charge of the Google homepage, and she would get an email every day from this random guy, and it wouldn't say anything except it had a number. Some days it would be 6. And she tells the story. Some days it's 12, some days 13, some days 7. She couldn't figure out what it was, He would never reply back to her. She's like, what are you talking about? Finally, she figured it out. That was the number of words on the Google homepage on any given day. And to her, she was she used that as what we did mattered to people in terms of every little thing we placed on that page. And so when those internal teams were like, look, Yahoo has 5,000 links. They make money off of every link. You got Alta Vista. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That had all of this, affiliate stuff. They had a little bit of, cleanliness. She fought hard to make sure Google had nothing else on there.
Wow.
And that became the differentiator for Google.
I never really thought about that as the difference, because you're right.
Yeah.
You go to even Bing, I think is that still relevant at all. I don't know.
For old people.
Yeah, Bing is
who don't know how to change their default.
Well,
browser.
that's the thing.
that's
the only
true,
reason
'cause
I know it
that's
is
the
because
default.
I set up a new Windows PC and the default is Bing, and I have to change it.
Yeah.
But you go to Bing and you have all the news stories, and you
Yep,
have
but
all this other kind of crap.
there's all
There's
stuff
a
popping
search
up
bar
everywhere.
up top.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
go to
all that
Google,
stuff
there's
that's
nothing
popping up
else.
everywhere, you're like, I don't care about that. I just want to find the search bar, right?
Right.
Google, it says Google, and there's your search bar.
Google was brilliant when they created the Omni bar up top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you did that, you had Internet Explorer. If you typed in, Talking Dad, is that the talkingdads.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you type the with 2 E's talkingdads.com, it would resolve to an error. If you added an extra space after .com, it would resolve to an error. Google said, look, let's use that as search, because if they mistype it, it's going to go to a search. That changed everything, right?
Yeah.
Think about how you do that. You didn't even type. You don't have to know.
I don't
URL.
actually go to Google anymore. I just go to the search or the URL bar
That's it.
and just
That's your Google interface, though. They
a lot of
moved it
times,
up.
right. A lot of times I don't even type it anymore. I just say it, and I'll just be like, okay, I want to look up.
What's one of the things
podcast.
like oh, I can't spell this word,
Right.
and
Yeah,
like
right.
automatically pops up and it corrects you. You're like, oh, this
Right.
is what you're looking for.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's an
that is
extension
super
of your
smart.
brain. We don't know anything. We can't even confirm it anymore. It's how can you search and find it quickly, right? So Google really helped people who knew how to use it advance their careers, right? I would be on a call talking about with CPAs, talking about things I wasn't sure of, but I'd be out there Googling it, learning while I'm on the call. And then I'd say something relevant. They're like, whoa, Sanjay, that's really good. It's like, hey, you know what? I just searched this up. I looked it up. Here's a reference. And they're like, wow, that's really good,
So that proves my theory, though, of what I tell my staff quite a bit is like, look, I don't expect you to know, it's going to sound bad because I don't know exactly how many now, but I've been away from day to day for a little bit. So there used to be 127 licensing rules for childcare centers in Ohio.
That's it? Just 100.
It's 127.
Okay.
And it was over like, I don't know, it was like 190-page manual or whatever that you had to keep on file. And it was, archaic. And I would always tell them, I don't expect you to have these rules memorized. What I expect is that you know how to go through this manual and find exactly what you need at that point.
Yeah.
And that was a different way of thinking. I'd have people that would come from other organizations or whatever, and it was like, well, yeah, Rule 17 says that you have to. I don't care. I don't want to learn these rules.
yeah, I'm not going to memorize all these.
The bottom line is, do you understand that if you need to confirm something or you need to fact check something,
Yep.
do you have the skills to be able to critically think and understand it and in a moment's notice make a decision?
Yeah.
And so but I think that's true of most industries, most entities, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it's important to necessarily memorize things. I think it's important to be able to critically think and understand what you're trying to get at and do.
Yeah. And then find it in the
Yes.
moment.
And that goes back to having a guy. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of along the same path. Is I think it's more important to have a guy to go to, and sometimes their guy is Google, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Or your guy is Chad from Verizon, who saved me from, 2 weeks of T-Mobile heck, right?
There you go.
And migratory heck and calling different 800 numbers, nothing. You got your guy on, and he's like,
Yeah.
here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get it done for you. On Saturday, I called him. He activated stuff back.
I'm glad that worked out.
Having that connection
Made me look good.
is definitely
There you go.
No, Chad's wonderful and has done wonders for all of our
Yeah.
telecommunications needs, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I have a lot of guys that I have to deal with in my job because there's a lot of
Verizon?
things I have to memorize, and I have a million parts, different things that I have to memorize and try to figure out. I have engineers calling me every day trying to find things. I have a lot of guys that I'm like, hey, here's a bunch of jargon that this guy fed me. It's all a bunch of just slang that linemen use, and these guys, and like, they expect you to find it. These guys, I'm like, hey, here's the information I have. Put this together for me and find it. And that's, you have to have a guy, and I have many guys, which is nice.
Right.
In my field.
And so the role of guys is changing. We've got some vagrants in the office here.
Good night, Billy.
Are you leaving? Oh,
Later, man.
Good seeing you, bud.
Bye.
Take it easy.
Appreciate you.
Hey, are you gonna walk around with that brown bag in the Isn't that that's definitely a stereotype. Yeah, right. What the heck?
Stumble around with your brown paper bag.
We're going to get a call to bail him out later.
Yeah.
We'll see you.
Later, man.
Love you. Be safe.
So, if you look at one of the books that changed my view on everything and made me more relevant was something called The Second Machine Age. And it's by two MIT researchers, Brynjolfsson and McAfee. And they did a study of everything that happened throughout the course of human history to move us forward as a species, right?
Okay.
So they looked at the ability to harness fire, the invention of the wheel. We think we invent these things, but
Right.
in nature, right? The domestication of farm animals, to plow and do things. All of these things, even the bubonic plague in terms of setting us back, in the 1600s. And you look at that, curve for human progress, it's up like a 40 to 45 degree angle. And then at some point, that inflection goes straight up, almost like a 90. And something that changed the course of human history more than anything else. And what they discovered was that was the invention of the steam engine. And moreover, the Watt steam engine, which was 3% effective or efficient. And so what that allowed us to do was to amplify human muscle power more than we've done with anything else, right? And that with animals and things like that. And so we've done that. Now it's the second machine age where we're going to use algorithms and technology to amplify human cognitive power. And so when you talk about the guy and finding things, it's funny because we found it's way easier to use a computer to replace human decisions and thinking than it is to replace human physical function. So, for example, Sony had 5 years ago this Aibo robot 2.0. It was amazing. It looked like a human in a NASA spacesuit. And it came out and it waved to a big crowd. This is the new Sony, innovation. And it waved, and then it walked up these stairs, and it got to the top of this landing and waved to everybody. And we're like, holy cow, that's a trick. Is that a human in there? And turned around and tried to walk down the stairs, and it fell and tumbled. And because the amount of processing power to understand where you're at, it's called SLAM, simultaneous location and mapping. To know where you're at and to map your surrounding and to figure out where you're going takes way more power than to make decisions that lawyers and doctors and humans make. So having a guy pretty soon is maybe not really having a guy, but it's having
we're almost there.
Thing. Right. And so I think about that and, what is your relationship importance at that point? Is it access to these bots that will do things for you, or is it access to, I think it's still going to be the guy who can get through to the bots to get things done. Right. I don't know. I try to piece that together. But it's going to be interesting to see who's more important.
Well, it's funny. You think about the people that I work with or anybody works with, it's like, you have the older guys, the old school guys, right? So a lot of my research and what I find information on is going to be on the internet, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas these guys are using old school way. They're going through catalogs and manuals and things.
How old are those old school guys today in 2021?
So probably they're about reaching 60 probably.
Okay.
They're they have a bunch of catalogs on their desk. That's how they find all their information. Whereas I'm going and I'm Googling it, right? I think once you go past that point, once those people are done and they're retired, right? And then that's when you start seeing the difference in things.
Yep.
That's when you're going to see the change of how things are done. I think you're still in the mix of both, the new school, old school, right? You're still in that mix a little bit, right? The, what would that be? The baby boomer age, right?
60s, born in the 60s.
Yeah. So
a little bit later.
50s and those people are going to start retiring, and that's where we're going to see the change. I think that's where things are going to change, because like a lot of my guys that I deal with, that I could call and be like, I need this information that I can't seem to find. I need your professional, like I need all the information that you have in your brain that you've memorized over the last 30 years of work.
Yep, it's gone.
Those guys are going to retire at some point.
Right.
Yep.
And then it's going to be different. That's where you're going to see the change, I think.
And the frustration is typically that they are slower, but they're way more accurate. Today,
Very accurate.
Yes.
we move fast, but we don't care about mistakes because we're part of the digital generation. You just copy and paste something else, refresh your browser, update a file,
Well,
send it. There's no.
I see that with
Well, again,
I see that with a lot of engineers that I deal with, where they just, like you said, the copy and pasting.
Mhm.
They're taking the information that they have, and they're like, "Oh, just copy and paste this," but it's not accurate. That's not the right thing, and
It's
that's huge
value
for a
of time,
project.
They get it done.
But they get it done fast.
Yeah.
It's value of time, right? Like if I can get this done very, very quickly, and you're going to know from experience now that if you mess up, it's still quicker to do it twice, or more efficient to do it twice than spend all of that time the first time around. Now,
Yeah.
there's probably an equilibrium there somewhere.
Yeah. Or if lives depend on it.
or
then you
sure.
got the wrong person.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's insane to think about how I think that this is one of the difficult things about parenting right now is that, you know, we say quite often that, like, man, we were the first ones to grow up with computers, and, you know, our parents didn't have computers, right? Like it was
Well,
not
they did, but it was the size of a room.
well, not in their homes.
Yeah, in their
certainly,
homes,
right?
like at work or something. Like,
But
this
I
amazing
remember,
machine.
fighting with my parents about, you know, you have a project due, you're supposed to go to the library, and I'm like, well, I have Encarta.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And like,
Microsoft.
now that was limited,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that
But
was limited.
an innovation.
But
I
it
had
was-
encyclopedias on the
We
shelf.
had
Yeah.
we had a Windows 95 machine, and I could go and pop in the Encarta disk, and I could research something. You know, I was doing like a project on like the Roman Empire or something like that,
got
and that
it.
was there was all the information
Yeah.
on that,
You
right?
didn't
That
have
goes
to
with
go
the-
to the
And
library.
I
You don't
didn't
have to go to the library. Use the Dewey Decimal System.
Right. But like, so like we dealt with that, but I think that what our kids will inevitably learn as they go through school and just the way that they learn is already so much different than what we did. And so as
yeah.
parents, how do you reconcile that? Because you don't want to be the stuck in my old ways, whatever.
But like we've said before, though, it's like that every generation is going to be like, this is completely different than the way I learned. Right.
All right. So what's the math thing now?
Well, I think they got rid. I think what did away with that. Maybe
Talking about Common Core.
Yeah,
Common Core. Do
yeah.
they still do that?
Like I just remember, and now my kids aren't old enough to
I
be
think there's
using
some
that
mutinies
yet.
against it.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of mutiny against it, right? It was like, why would I learn a different way? Well,
That was how I did it in my head. And
Oh, really?
So it was native to me.
really?
Yes. But for the kids that our kids switched from a Christian school to a public school,
Mhm.
and it was very hard, the transition, because they learned the old way and then they had to learn a new way. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how I normally did it. So it was easy for me to show them, because it's really just taking shortcuts and, you know, multiplying this and then multiplying this as a smaller number and adding it together instead of trying to memorize, you know, that whole thing. And if you multiply huge numbers together anyway with Common Core, you break it down into simple numbers to multiply.
So is that how those human calculators do it?
It's the only way you can do it in your head. Yeah. When you say human calculator,
You ever see those?
you know, like the box where the little midget's hiding in it?
No.
Or the little person?
All right. This is going to sound terrible or sound maybe a little racist, but it's always an Indian dude
It is.
that is on like a game show or something like that. And they'll like take numbers from the crowds
Yeah.
and they'll be like, multiply these numbers. And be like, oh, and he knows it. I'm like,
There's
what?
always, yeah.
Come
there's,
on.
There's some tricks too. It's like
Yeah.
if it ends in a 9, starts with a 3, then there's certain rules. And
Oh,
if you
that,
just get
that
good
old rule.
The old one. I remember that.
carry the
I remember that one. Oh,
That's
classic.
See how simple?
Classic rule.
See how simple? But look, you know, the thing now is learning. So I think of this. I think of my maturity model, right? As I grow up and evolve into a human, I recall things that I used to know how to do and be good at. Like I used to know how to get to places. I even knew how to read a map. Today I talk to my car and tell it where to. I even do it from here to go home sometimes in case there's like road construction.
Isn't it crazy that like from like a simple route home that you're like, let's make sure and just throw this into the GPS.
That comfort. Right.
I do it.
Do you remember going places? I mean, I'm talking like high school. I'm talking like in our early 20s and printing out MapQuest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually reading signs.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And then like, well, for example, last week we're going out to dinner and Ian's my co-pilot.
Terrible decision.
And he's supposed to tell me where to exit because I can't just be like, this is the exit we have to get off of. I have to know turn by turn where to go. And I'm sitting there like leaning over looking.
Was he reading bourbon reviews online?
I'm not sure what he was doing, but he forgot to tell me the exit to get off. He goes, yeah, just keep going. we were
the type that needs to know like a quarter mile ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, I don't know the exit. Yep. Tell me where to go.
Yeah, I messed up.
So we were running a little behind, and Ian's like, we got to make up 3 minutes. I'm like, I got this, right? So flying. I'm like,
you know how the GPS
challenge accepted. It tells you. So like, you can make up the time. I made up that time. And then Ian forgot to tell me the exit. We lost those 2 minutes that I had gained.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do it? How'd you make it up?
Our reservations were still fine. We made it okay. We did good. I only went 90 in a 25. No, I don't speed. I did a little bit, but it worked out. But it's just funny how like reliant we are on these.
Oh yeah,
on GPS, man. Like you said, like just even going home, like, sometimes you're like, I got to avoid this traffic. Or
even as a co-pilot, I was like, if I had the directions printed out in front of me, I would have been much more focused on them. But I was like waiting for the lady in my phone to tell us to get off at the next exit, and it just wasn't happening. It was later.
Do you remember that though? Like driving and be like, "Hey, man, we got to get off at exit 75A."
Right.
Like, okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 45 miles till that. Okay, let's all look at the. What do you want me to do?
No, there's notifications coming up.
Okay, so it's like you're looking at it. You're like, okay, we got 45 miles to that exit.
Yep.
So you're like, okay, we got. Okay, you look at
your clock.
You're looking at everything. You're like, okay, get that. We're good. Okay, and you figured it out.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we became so reliant on these. So on the GPS.
So take that. Okay. So that's our generation and yours, you know, take the next generation where they don't need to know anything. They ask Alexa, they ask Siri, they ask Google, they ask anything that's available electronically. They're wondering why they need to memorize anything because they can always get to it because we're in a connected society.
Yeah.
So how's that going to impact the useless facts that I hold in my head that impress people at parties, right?
Very impressive.
They're not going to need to do that because they'll just get to it, right? And how many times today we argue about a fact or we're not sure? Let's go look it up. Oh, yeah, that was.
You're right. Because, I mean, you had that argument. You're like, oh, it was this movie or this song or whatever. You're like, well, I got this.
The source of truth is not us. It's something we don't even have. We're the product of, right? So think about that. So anyway, I think that's going to change things. I do think that, you know, there's a big push right now in something called first principles. Have you heard of this? Mm-mm. So Musk, of course, is one of my, not one of my fans.
No, you're a fanboy.
Yeah, fanboy. Yeah.
He's a fan of you. Let's be honest.
That's true.
He probably would be.
He doesn't know yet.
We'll find out.
It's like, oh, I love what you did with your Model S. Did you really? Wow, that black on white is so innovative. And what? You put a rubber steering wheel cover?
That's amazing.
Right. I never thought to do that.
It's so practical.
What is your name again? Do you have a Twitter account? So
I'm gonna follow you.
So, first principles was something that Elon started talking about more. And it was actually created by Aristotle way back in the day. And so it says, in a big nutshell here, we don't really, the way that human knowledge has progressed is by piggybacking off of everything everybody else has done and learned, right? You don't, you know, the electricians who install this stuff today, they don't figure it out all on their own. They understand how it works. Somebody shows them and they take it from there.
Right.
Vehicles,
little improvements over time.
Right. Or, you know, you're an apprentice at a mechanic shop. You're not learning by yourself on a broken down car in the desert. Somebody's showing you how to do it. You're building off their knowledge. beautiful. It's advanced us quite a bit, incremental gains. The problem with that is sometimes we do things the same way, even if it's not the best way. So kind of like that mentality of, well, it's always been done this way. But that's what happens when you do what everybody else has done, and you can do, some minor improvements.
The guy getting ready to retire is still using a catalog, even though it's not the most efficient.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way he's comfortable doing it, so he's going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
If he's going to teach somebody, it's the catalog. He's
Right.
not going to teach
Yeah.
you the internets. So
Right.
the first principle says, boil it down to its basic truth, something that you don't need anybody else to verify. So Elon gives this example of lithium-ion batteries, right? And, battery packs, right? It's so expensive per kilowatt to create these electric car batteries, $600 per kilowatt when Tesla started. And every manufacturer, everybody went to Panasonic, companies in China, wherever. They're like, oh no, it's $600 a kilowatt, And he's like, that's stupid. Let's boil it down using first principles. So to boil it down, he said, well, let's look at what's inside of this battery pack, right? You got, lithium, right? You've got some other metals. Let's go to the stock market and look up the price of those metals on the stock market today. We can see what they're trading at, right, in the futures market. So take that, estimate how much you need to make X amount of batteries, and you boil it down and took all the elements, including the plastic casing, and said, look, we've got $80 of material per kilowatt here. $80. So $520 of it is something else. How do we figure out how to make these elements, right, that we can purchase on the open market today? How do we take those and make it into a battery for less than $520? And now today, they're at about $148 per kilowatt, in their gigafactories. And it's going to go lower. And so that's the first principles. It's like boil it down to what nobody has to tell you, no assumptions.
Yeah, don't make the assumption.
Yeah, because this is what it is, and that's what it is.
Yeah. I don't have this mastered at all. I would love to apply it to my own stuff right now. I'm thinking about the analogies, but man, there's so much power in that way to challenge things, right? You don't want to do it like, I'm going to build a house, and even those architects says I have to do this. I don't know.
I can do this a lot cheaper if I just put this in here.
So I don't need that big of a beam.
Yeah, that's too expensive.
It's like,
I can hold it up with this plastic.
I don't know if I'm going to park here. I mean, it says there's parking lines there, but really, what are those lines? It's like,
And you got the tow truck guy. And it's
Yeah.
the whole thing. It interrupts the podcast.
It's really a tow truck.
Yeah.
All the residual effects of that, it's going to be...
I don't know. Does that hook lift up or this way? It's like, that's a great way to land in a house that
It's a
will
great way to think.
take care of you with padded walls. But
That's kind of cool.
so you can apply that. I think that's powerful. It's coming back like in a big way because these people who are solving huge fundamental problems that we're facing that we can't seem to get through by using the body of knowledge that we've had, by the way, which is everything you'll ever Google, you'll ever talk to Siri about. They're all tapped into that fundamental knowledge base. You'll never get beyond that. So when we start relying on just that,
right.
we don't have a way to move forward.
Well, we take the path of least resistance and assume fact versus challenging the first principle, right? Like,
Well, because it's quick and it's easy.
yeah.
It's all about getting things done fast. The easiest way.
I mean, we run into that all the time with marketing, right? Like a really good example. There's a Little Scholars in Euclid, I think.
Okay.
That is same name. They've been around for just as long as we have.
But it's spelled S-K.
It is spelled differently, but I think it's Lil Scholars.
Oh, okay.
Lil. Okay.
Lil.
But if you Google, and I worked really hard they would always show up first, and I couldn't understand why. And like,
They're a client of mine.
That's why.
That makes sense. But they don't anymore. I've beaten them.
They're not a client of mine anymore.
Figure out how to beat the talking heads.
But yeah, right.
That's always the first thing that pops up.
yeah.
The talking
David
heads.
Byrne, this is not my beautiful wife.
Yeah.
This is not my... Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I can't sing. That's great.
Yes, you can.
I can't.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're great.
I cannot.
But no, like we, that information would come up when somebody would Google our business, and we would try. I mean, to the point where we would get, and this was like that. This is why I had to fix it. Was we would get licensing complaints, and like licensing would show up, and we're like, "Look, we had a complaint for Little Scholars, blah blah blah." And we're like, "What are you talking about?" And they can only give you so much information when they come because they don't want anything to be gamed or whatever.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But one thing that they can tell you is like the child's name in question.
Oh, so you look that up.
Listen,
That child doesn't exist in our system.
Doesn't go to any, like, and we would show them, like, oh man, and this happened several times in a couple year period or whatever. And, we got to figure it out. But like, that's a really good example, or at least what I'm thinking of is, the path of least resistance. You Google something, and especially for a licensing agent, like they actually have the database that they could look up.
With the address.
Right. Yeah. And instead they just went to Google, took the first thing.
That's the problem with a lot of things in life, right? I mean, you're like, I'm going to try to figure out this fact to have this argument with somebody, or this news story.
Or this conspiracy theory.
Right, yes, exactly. Right. So you type it in, and what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to pull up the first link that you see, where probably the most reliable source is probably somewhere a little bit lower down on the page. Yeah. But you're going to click on that first one. Might not be the best information, but that's where you're going to take your facts from. Yeah. Because it's the path of least resistance, right? You're like first story, boom, that's it. That's what I'm going to click.
We assume that algorithm is perfect to understand what we're talking about. And it's really only as good as the information that it's given.
Yes. Also, there's something called confirmation bias, which means, and you couple that with vanity, and you have people who think they know everything, right? I might say, look, I know that people who own daycares and drink bourbon are actually aliens, right? And
it's true.
I'm going to go Google it, and I will find somebody and some group that actually believes the same exact thing, and I'll say, aha.
See?
Knew it.
Found it.
I knew it.
Because you can search it until you find it.
Search it until you find it. You'll find like-minded people. And now you've got this confirmation bias. Like, oh, well, see, that's it. I know it. Nobody can tell me. So nobody's an expert anymore, right? So there's a book by this guy, last name Chapman, called The Death of Expertise. And so...
You told me about that book a while back.
Nobody believes experts anymore. I mean, principals of schools, they're idiots. Politicians are idiots, engineers... superintendents, anybody who owns a business, who's been doing it all their lives. No, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm super smart, and I learned this real fast.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of people who think the same way. So there, I gotcha.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And so
I nailed you.
That's so dangerous. No, we're not having discourse and discussion. We're having shouting matches.
It's like you look at any type of article out there, any news story, and then you scroll down to the comments, and everybody's a professional.
It's great.
It's amazing. Those conversations are amazing.
Right. And it's who can be louder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who can create the most attention with an opinion. And a lot of times that gets taken as fact.
Yeah.
Or at least close enough to fact that somebody's willing to speak confidently about it. And that's a super dangerous thing.
It's super dangerous. And think about this as being a parent, right?
Yeah.
Before, we just assumed like, okay, well, maybe our parents don't know what they're talking about. Your kids are going to have an argument for everything that you can tell them because they're like, oh, I just looked this up online.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Fuck, what am I going to say? How can you
try
to argue that? Be like, well, no, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, I saw it online. That's true. It's just,
or this YouTuber.
Yeah, right. I'm following this person, this blogger or this influencer.
Right.
They know everything. You don't know shit.
So let me ask you this. Like we've gone through a lot of like theory of knowledge and how it relates to parenting. I guess my question, to kind of bring it back to a personal perspective, is how do you, like, you finally did it.
The thing is, it was so slow.
That was a good one.
It made a noise too. Excuse me. There he is. That's better.
No, like you're a smart guy, You
He's having a tough time with his chair right now.
Yeah,
No, I'm
I
not,
don't know if I
but
should be
thanks.
saying that while you're doing. But no, like
Your only weakness is chairs.
a lot of
I
times,
can't solve for this.
a lot of times what we talk about is parenting is simply taking your experiences and what you've done up to the point that you become a father, and then projecting that onto your children in order to set them up and instill those values, right? So between, you said coming to this country when you were 4, right? So between that and then the educational stuff that you've gone through and the different companies that you've worked for, and then going off on your own and those experiences that you've had, how do you think that's shaped the way that you parent? Because I mean, we've talked before, and there's different influences that you have, whether it's coming from a traditionally Indian background or it's the super intellect that you've acquired over, working in tech and things like that. I think that's a kind of a unique, maybe it's not unique, it's unique to me at least, walk of life. And your kids are super smart, like just from meeting them. So like, how do you think that shaped how you parent?
Right. So everybody wants to give their kids as much of an edge as they can. They want the kids not to make the same mistakes that
You're
parents
limited
make.
by your own experiences, though. Right. Like my idea of as much as I can is going to be different than yours, is going to be different than Steve's.
Right. When we came to this country, we were cut off from pretty much everything because my grandmother, who was my mom's mom, said, look, if you're going to go to the U.S., you're going to make it on your own. You're not going to get any kind of feed from us here. So we came to this country, East Cleveland, late 70s, snowstorm, lived in a place that, was definitely not great, right? You turn on the lights in the bathroom, and this is what I was used to. You'd see a dozen roaches scatter every time. They just didn't like light, but they loved the dark. You turn on and there are roaches. There were times where I never had real milk. We'd have powdered milk, right? If we're lucky, I would eat cereal with water, right? And those were the things. My dad would walk to work. You know how your parents say, like, oh, I walked 6 miles in the snow. Well, my dad actually did that. And there was an elderly couple who would see him walking down Euclid Avenue in Cleveland to his job, and he never had a coat because we came from India, right? Never got cold. First season here, and they stopped and they gave him a coat. They're like, you're crazy. What are you doing? You need a coat. They gave him that coat. He had a coat. And me as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, my brother's, 7 or 8 years older, I was a gift. And I was a little bit needy, right? So I'm like, Dad, I saw on TV these markers, and I want those markers, and you bring me those markers home. And he would literally, I remember him coming home, and he had a mustache, and there were icicles all on his mustache. I never saw him like that, but he walked from work, then walked further to the shopping center, went into, whatever the drugstore of the day was there, before CVS became big, whatever it was in East Cleveland, and then came home and gave me those markers. That marker set was, I remember, $3. And then I remember my dad made $2.14 an hour, whatever the minimum wage was. And he gave that to me. And, you remember those things, but until you have those moments of change and clarity and your lens changes, you don't understand it. So I remember going to India when I was 14, seeing, and I was what I thought was a spoiled, brat. I wasn't very appreciative. Even with all that, my parents did everything they could to give me whatever they could. And I saw, this 90-pound guy pulling a 600-pound ox cart, in the middle of the 100-degree India weather. His feet were blistered. I remember drinking a, 3 rupees Campa Cola, which is like the Coca-Cola version in India at the time. Drinking that ice cold in the back of an air-conditioned cab, looking at a kid my age, 14 years old, living in a tent, looking at me drink that, at a stoplight, and me realizing there's no way he doesn't even know what this tastes like, because that 3 rupees would buy a bag of rice for his family, and they don't even have that. And then just seeing all those things, giving, 20 rupees, which is 50 cents, to a person with one arm, no legs, on a skateboard, giving it to them, and having another Indian person come and snatch that money out of that person's hand, smack them in the face, and then scold me for teaching them to beg. Just seeing all that. That's literally 3 weeks in India at the age of 14 that changed my life. I got back, got a job at the car wash, stopped being a little spoiled brat. So that changed my life. So we want to give that to our kids. And so my kids growing up in Lake County, me working my tail off, Nicole being as amazing as she is with budget and not getting us to, spend on stupid, crazy things, except my car, which...
Flamethrower.
Some things.
Some things she doesn't... You ask for forgiveness later, right? All the spreadsheets on the Tesla and the return on spend and all that didn't really help. So I just got it anyway, and I said, that's it. Can't divorce a guy with a Tesla. That's stupid. So
fair point.
My kids, they literally, there was a time where they took a sip of milk, and my son was able to detect that it wasn't organic milk. He was like, Dad, what is this? This is not organic. And I'm like, okay, we need to do something here. And so we took our kids to India. And my son was 7. My daughter was 4. We took my mom and dad. My dad was 84 at the time. It's 5 years ago. And we went, and it was amazing, right? And I wanted to show them my history. We wanted to show them what beggars were. And so it was perfect. We were in this little tour van going to see the Taj Mahal. It's a multiple hour drive, right? So I had to stop 3 times to get fuel. First time we stopped, people come up to the van, and my kids are like, what is that, Dad? Who are they? What do they want? I said, well, they're beggars. They don't have food. Why don't you see if there's some snacks that we brought here that you can give them? And they're like, they don't have any food. Okay. Gave them the little squeezy, thing. And son gave him crackers. Well, this older woman took that little pureed,
Applesauce.
Organic apple.
Yeah, of course.
And she looked at it, and she sat down on the curb, and then she twisted it off, and then she squeezed it, and then she took a little taste, and then she smiled, and she figured it out. And I'm like, this is so beautiful. My kids are watching it. They're like, wow, we had that impact. We can't believe there are people who don't have anything.
Yeah.
It's great. My mom and dad, who grew up in India all their lives, right, until we came here, saw that, and they were cool. The next stop that happened, more beggars came up, and my parents were like, my dad was like, shoo, get away, beggars, stop, leave us alone, and to my dad in India, that's how you survive, because there's so much poverty. You can't, There's a time I gave away a sandwich, half of a sandwich, to a woman who had a baby on her shoulder, and literally within 2 minutes, we were surrounded by monkeys, a bunch of other people, cows, everything right on us because we were giving. And there was so much need. We had to, the phrase in India to get people away from you is Bobby. You start screaming Bobby, which means police officer. Like, we need police. And then finally they scattered. But we were like surrounded, by this. So it was like crazy. So the third stop that happened when the beggars came, my kids modeled my parents and said, oh no, these beggars, they're harassing us.
So this
again.
is a couple hour period.
Yeah. So
Right.
we saw from the joy of what my
Giving
wife,
them
Nicole,
something.
and I taught, to them modeling, my parents, to them exhibiting that. And we're like, we got to fix this. Right. So that gave us the opportunity to reinforce the fact that, they saw some other poverty and some other things going on. And it was just a good lesson for them to see that the world's not perfect. Not everybody's nice. Not everybody has everything, but you should appreciate what you have. So it's still a balance. We want to give to our kids the fact that, look, even though we have the comforts of a modern life and stability with your family, there's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of things where people don't have, anything close to what you have. That little, PlayStation and the iPad, broadband internet, right? Things like that. Air conditioning.
Even the simple things that are just, you figure like that's just necessary.
Right?
Yeah.
2 refrigerators, one in the garage, one in the thing. These are things that are unheard of, around the rest of the planet. So it's that delicate balance of you want to give your kids everything you didn't have. You want them to be so comfortable. You want them to be overwhelmed with joy. But how do you ground them in the fact that you don't want them disconnected from reality?
That's huge. And so
that's such a delicate balance. It's like I struggle with that a lot. So
it's a huge worry of mine. Like I think of myself growing up. My parents were I'll say I was coddled. I got a lot of things that, a lot of people don't get. Like I got a lot of stuff, My grandparents were never huge on buying us a lot of things, right? I mean, they were amazing people. Like we loved them, obviously. We never really thought about it like that, though. Whereas now, as you're telling this story, I'm thinking about it in my head. I'm like, damn, these spoiled little bastards, the amount of shit that we give them. And then my parents and Liz's parents, the amount of stuff that they give my kids. Mm-hmm. I go to my in-laws' house the other day. They're like, oh, he's bought this brand new picnic table that has kinetic sand in it for them. And then we just bought this brand new bouncy house and all the candy and all the treats that they want. And then I go to my father-in-law, bought my son a 4-wheeler and my other son a Power Wheels Jeep.
Wow.
And I'm talking like the amount of crap that they just have is unbelievable. 100 times more shit than I ever had in my entire life.
Yep. And so,
it's like, but I think about it all the time. Like this is leading down a terrible road.
It is, right?
And I want to figure out how to nip it in the butt, but like you can't just like all of a sudden be like done.
Can't,
because we've already gone. My oldest is 5, but it's a huge worry of mine that I'm like, this kid's gonna expect everything handed to him, and that's gonna be a problem.
Right.
Again, it comes back to that balance, right? Like, here's the thing: is I grew up, and as I got to see my parents, who were a young, 18 and 20-year-old couple having a kid, working through a military career and a waitress, and then like becoming something. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and while you're in the moment as a 5-year-old kid, you don't understand that. You can't possibly fathom what it actually took to get to where they were at. Yep. But as an adult, you can kind of look back and see, and growing up, I can never remember wanting anything that I didn't get.
Yeah.
But I look at the things that I wanted, and it's a product of society, and it's also a product of circumstance. But now I look at my kids, and I'm like, all right, here's a good story. What was it? Tuesday night. No, it was Monday night. Monday night, we had a football practice for my son, and hey, what are we doing for dinner? I'm like, oh, well, we're making chicken tonight. He goes, oh, where are we getting it from? And I'm like, no, we're making it at home. Mm-hmm. And he goes, we're not getting takeout? No.
It's been a rough year, man.
It's been a rough year, right? COVID and everything. And like, we've been in this apartment. And again, I'm going to sit here and act like I'm complaining. But the reality is we as a family are living this life that is incredible. And we don't appreciate it because we were used to our house.
Yep.
That we built over, 5 years, and then we sold it, and then we're waiting for our brand new house to be built.
Yep.
And I can't reconcile the fact that my kids are very much spoiled little brats. And I think that every father probably thinks that to some degree. But what do we do? And a lot of things have been taken away from us. Some of the things I should say that I used to do, especially with my son. Now, my daughter I never got to do this with, but I used to volunteer quite a bit. Food pantries, things like that, and I would make it a point to take Gibbs. And he's like, well, why do we have to go here? And he was like 3 at the time.
Yeah.
But I would, like Lake County Food Sort, we would go do, and I would go there, and, it's as much of a social event for me as it is, but there's some good in it, right? Yeah, and so right. I would take him, and we would say, all right, well, these are peas. These go on that table over there. Go run and put this can of peas over there, And in my head, that was something, and he couldn't possibly understand the concept of it. But I thought if we kept doing this year after year, that maybe there would be something there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, with COVID, like that kind of stuff doesn't happen. I mean, it's happening, but just not in a volunteer sort of way.
Yeah.
The good news is it's early enough that you can keep doing those things.
Right. But
And
I guess
continue,
that's what I'm getting at,
get
is
back
like,
on that track of doing that kind of stuff, and then showing them that there's other things in life besides, hey, you're very lucky, and at the moment you're getting all this shit that you want. You know, I mean, we're spoiling the heck out of them. And
and we've talked before, like, about like the abundance of holidays and what do we do at these holidays, whether it's Easter. I mean, we just had Easter.
Everything is a gift opportunity.
Everything.
it is, man, because I'm sitting here yelling at my
Easter baskets were
Tooth
outrageous.
fairy.
the Easter
Right.
basket was like my Christmas,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, well, you know, all we got was candy, you know.
And again,
but then
great pictures.
I say that, but then I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, but I got them. I went on Amazon one day and I just bought like a bunch of shit for them.
Yep.
I'm like, just add it to the pile of the other shit that they don't even appreciate. I actually had this
That's a
conversation.
whole nother story. How easy it is to get stuff on Amazon
Right.
to solve every moment.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is what he's into. I'm gonna buy this.
And again, this goes back to, by the way, the gratification that we get of saying, you know, as much as it is for them, we still get to be the fixer. We still get to be that provider, and we still get that credit of, even though they think it's the Easter bunny, like, we get to see the smile on their face, that aha, like, oh my God, the Easter bunny really came.
Yeah.
And I got all these Pokemon cards and whatever, you know what I mean?
But you get that satisfaction from that, and you're like, this is amazing. I feel
you get
amazing.
to see the joy in your children's faces, and that's for us as much as it is for them.
Yeah.
Really,
So
it is.
ultimately, we want to be the puppet masters, right?
Yes.
Of our own show, and we want to have that impact. But here's the deal: your kids are going to be great, right? We're not, you know, you go to the extreme and say, look, if they were raised with maids and butlers and treated them poorly, and you set the modeling that, look, you know, things are violent, and, you know, we have to be aggressive with driving and aggressive with how we treat our employees, or rude to waiters and waitresses, that's bad modeling. So even if you're giving them more, so the thing that I've been trying to do is respect others, appreciate that they may not have those other things, but also when you look at those children who don't have things, even, you know, Nicole and I go to Zambia, we go to Cameroon, we go to places for our nonprofit, we see families with nothing. And those kids are still happy playing with a 25-year-old soccer ball that has its ragtag threads hanging off. And the phrase we came up with was, with nothing, they're happy.
Yeah.
Sometimes us in this country, we're happy with nothing, right? Nothing is enough. And so it kind of balances it out. The kids will be happy even if they've got nothing, because they're kids. They'll find joy in the simplest things, right?
For sure.
You've seen people playing in fields with nothing, right? Just running around, and these kids are going to be fine. The challenge that I think we're going to have is there's so much stuff, so much stimulation with internet electronics. There's so much gifting from the families who are around and well off, and, or, you know, well off enough to do that. And then things become not valued. I remember having 2 toys growing up that were so important to me that I kept them. You know, a little red bunny and a little big wheel, right? And those 2 things, like from move to move, I wanted to keep, you know, for years, because I didn't think I could get another one.
Right.
My kids, you know, they know that Amazon is a click away, and we can get whatever we want. As a result, I grew up, and I kept my old, you know, Jag for 200,000 miles. I polished that thing, waxed it, took meticulous care of it. Sounds like I'm really into cars. I kind of like cars, but also I appreciate the things that I get, and I treat it well, because I never had a million things. What we don't want our kids to do is be in a society where things are disposable, right? I'm just going to drive this car, never wash it, get it all scratched up. I don't care about, you know, my stuff. If it breaks, my laptop, the keys break, I'm just going to get a new one.
Right.
That's the fear.
That's the problem.
Right? Because then it's not good at all, right? Because if you treat things like that and you treat people as they're disposable, then you haven't raised a good human. So even if they get more than we've ever had, even if they see more, I think the trick is to make them appreciate that stuff and to take care of it and not get rid of it easily, right?
Yeah.
If they do, they're moving on to something new. They're not moving on to a new version of the same thing.
Yeah.
And so my son, who had a PlayStation 4, I said, look, do you want this now? We got it like a year ago. I said, PlayStation 5's coming out. Do you want to wait? And he said, nope, never going to want it. Just want PlayStation 4. And PlayStation 5 was like all the rage right now. And everybody's
getting it.
Waiting. I'm like, are you sure you made the right decision? He's like, yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I'm
Good.
Like, yes. That's so
good.
cool. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Dad win right there. Yeah.
Yeah, dad win. It's like, look, you got your PS4. You got the games you need, right? You don't need this other thing.
Right.
And we'll see what happens around birthday and Christmas time.
Well, yeah. And that's a tough thing, man. Like trying to tell my kids, like, he's like, oh, I want this and that. I'm like, and I keep telling him, like, you can't just get things whenever you want. I'm like, so you have to wait for your birthday and then for Christmas. And sure enough, Easter rolls around and I just get them a shit ton of stuff. And I'm like, damn, these holidays. And here's the thing is I saw this video a few weeks back and it was funny. It's like they're talking about the leprechaun for St. Patty's Day is now
Is he real?
coming around the house and doing all these things. Like it's his mom complaining about like, when did this leprechaun visiting the night before become a thing? And I didn't even know about it. The reason I found out is there was a guy that I work with, his daughter goes to the same school as our kids. And the teacher told the kids that the leprechaun's going to come tonight and put gold coins all over the house. Didn't tell the parents this, okay? The only reason he knew is his wife was listening to the conversation over, it was like a Zoom call. And she heard the teacher say that. She's like, what the hell? So she called her husband. She's like, you need to go buy these gold coins apparently and set them around the house because apparently this is now a thing. So the video I saw was his mom complaining about all these things. Like, do you remember when like the elf on a shelf used to just move around the house?
Yep.
Do you remember when the elf on the shelf
gifts every night?
Exactly. It's like,
What? That happened?
Oh
it was,
yeah.
No, she's like, do you remember when elf on the shelf wasn't a thing?
Yeah. Right.
Like, it's now a thing, and like you're expecting, like you're sitting at home, you're laying in bed, and you're like, shit, I gotta go move the freaking elf.
Well, this is peer pressure, right?
Yeah.
Apply
Yeah,
through
so-
the kids to the parents.
Yeah, and then you have like all the stuff we see online. You're like, all these parents are doing all this crazy shit. I should probably be doing this.
It's
And they're
posturing as
not.
parents.
They're probably bad parents. They're just sharing those.
But I don't share any of the stuff I do. I don't feel like I need that reassurance that I'm doing a good job with things. Like I don't care. That's me. People do.
But what you do get though is you get that worry or that fear that your kid's going to go to school and, oh man, my elf brought me new pajamas. And your kid's like, well, my elf didn't bring me anything.
Yeah, my
I
elf
guess I
moved to
wasn't
the
good.
My
or
elf moved to the
I-
counter.
My elf was giving us the middle finger this
My elf
morning.
was in the same spot as he's been for the last 3 nights.
Yeah.
And my dad's still got a hangover.
Yeah.
Coincidence? I don't know.
Our elf is lazy. Okay, he's tired. He doesn't want to move around the house.
It is a lot of the social pressure of, call it keeping up with the Joneses, whatever you want to call it, with social media and everyone living their best life. And that's crap. And everyone's got a messy place at home. But, the picture that, the picture that you see is the perfectly organized pantry. And, it's like, oh man, how do we get to that?
It's not real life,
people don't
man.
actually live like that. It's certainly some people do.
Some people do,
like,
but it's not. I don't have time
it's
for
not
that.
And why is that ideal?
Oh, right. That's
Yes,
the
exactly.
point, is why is it that you think that is ideal?
Well, it sucks because you look at that stuff and you're like, well, shit, I'm not doing a good job. I don't have this house. I don't have these things, and that's because that's what you see. Like these people are like, oh, check out this picture of my dog doing this. But like, what it really is, their dog is like right here in the corner, but you see their beautiful house and their
Right.
wine cellar and this like,
Oh, my kid's finally playing with toys and they're like at the pool.
yeah,
And like,
yeah,
the
but it's like the
waterfall in
wide shot of the
background.
house. You're like,
Right.
wow, man, these people are
Right.
living the life, man. I
Yeah.
suck. But that's the culture though. Like that's what you see, and that's what you're like, damn. And you're trying to keep up with all that, like keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like
Right.
that's
And so then like that continues and we fall into that trap. And then again, that makes me wonder, like Like, I still think, and I think you were kind of alluding to this earlier, is that the values that you teach your children to respect what they have, to understand the value of something, those are what's still important. How do you teach that lesson when you fall into the trap of trying to do better at the same time? I think it's a very difficult thing to balance. And I guess just with your kids being older, I guess, was trying to correlate that so that, because I'm struggling with this right now.
It's a thing.
Like every single day after school, like we don't go home right away. We go and check out the progress on the house that we're building
with the kids.
Yeah. And like today I yelled at my son because they have a bunch of trim work that's all laid out to do. And he's like jumping on this and like trying to balance. And to him, it's just a pile of wood that is fun. Good. And I'm like, dude, this is our brand new house. Like, let's try and keep it nice at least until we move in.
Then you get to destroy it.
I did not know that the wood was in its desired finished state.
Yeah, right. I apologize, Father.
Perhaps there's some
and like, right. And he can't possibly understand.
I told you.
Don't worry, Dad. Those guys will take care of it.
Yeah, worker, get over here.
Yeah, where are they? Get them over here and fix it.
Hey,
I don't have time for this shit.
On this wood.
Yeah, this is garbage. How dare you let this happen to our wood?
And there's no pooping in our new toilet.
Yeah,
you go out to the house or whatever.
We dug a hole in the backyard for you.
Make sure you bury it with sawdust.
I will say this though, and my son Sam is very passionate about things, and one day he had garbage he had a piece of candy, and Liz said, "I don't want you throwing your garbage on the floor in the car." Okay, so he took that as, well, she doesn't want it on the floor. He threw it out the window, and she's like, "Wow, you cannot litter." So she explained to him littering and all the problems with littering. Well, now everywhere we drive, and especially now that it's springtime and after the snow and everything, you notice everywhere there's just garbage
and masks
right, everywhere. And Sam's
the new cigarette.
Sam's like not like looking at anything else. He's like, oh, I can't believe the amount of garbage that's outside. He's like, that is terrible. He's like, there is so much litter. I'm like, I know, buddy. I'm like, it is bad, but it'll get cleaned up. And this is going to segue into a different story, because the one day I was driving home from work, I saw a mom and her 2 kids, and they were young, probably 10, like 9, something like that. They're young kids, and they're walking around by the freeway, like on the other side of the fence, like under the bridge on Lakeland Boulevard. And these kids are with bags, with their mom, and they're cleaning up garbage.
Was it work release?
I don't know if these kids were doing that, but I mean, like, that's pretty. I mean, yeah, but that was
bold, right?
I'm like, that's awesome. That mom was like, I'm gonna teach you guys a lesson. Let's go out there and take care of our city. Let's go clean up,
right?
And that's pretty awesome. And
that
like,
awesome.
And that's like my son Sam. Go back to him, is like when he notices something's out of place. Like, say we're at a store and somebody drops something on the floor, and people leave it. Like, I've always been like huge to pick up, like, clean up after yourself. Go put that where it belongs. He'll walk around a store and he sees something laying on the ground. He'll go up and put it right back where it belongs. Like, he does it all the time. It's just like automatic for him.
Yeah.
But he's still a spoiled brat. But there's still things that he does that impresses me, that I appreciate.
Good, productive humans.
Yeah.
Right. That are self-sufficient and are gonna have good, positive lives, and
try to teach them those small little important details. Like, that kind of stuff's important. Like,
that's modeling.
Yeah, and that's what I hope to teach them, is like manners, be polite, be good to everybody. That's important, because that's like my family raised me. Like, I could not ever leave the kitchen table. My grandparents were very old school. I mean, they're obviously older, but they were like, you have to clean your plate, and you have to ask, may I please be excused when you're done eating? And we do that with, I'm trying to teach my kids that, but they're all over the place. They're 5 and 3.
Right.
What do I expect? But I mean, I'm like, when I was little, I couldn't leave the table.
I mean, this is the argument I have with my wife a lot is, yes, they're 5 and 3, but if we don't start this now, again,
it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Cumulative, like, understanding of a topic, like, if we don't start it now, then when do we start? When is...
when do you say, like, it's an acceptable age?
Yeah. Just because, like, maybe I can't expect them to do it every time right now, but if we say it and we expose them to these values, then maybe by the time they're 7 or 8.
Well, here's the deal. I may have been doing that before I was whatever age that I started remembering. Probably, maybe I was doing that when I was 3 and 5 years old. Like, I just don't remember that.
Or I bet.
But I
you
remember
were at
as I
least
got
told.
older. Yeah, but I probably was doing that. My grandparents and my parents were always like, "This is what you do. Be polite. Be good to everybody." And I was always very polite. That was manners was like the number one thing in our family. It was like that was the most important thing. And I think will take you a long way just by being
well and
a good human.
I mean, we've talked about this before, but when it comes to certain topics or certain skills, I think that we tend to believe that we were taught these things much earlier than we really were. I bring up the story all the time how my dad literally used to make me chop wood all the time. Like that was my number one punishment. Like
that ties in the whole 12-hour story now. Okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because he went home and that's exactly what happened. Get out in the
But,
backyard.
I mean, it was. I mean, Steve will tell you, like, he'd come over on his bike and be like, all right, we're going to play baseball. I was like, dude, can you give me a hand real quick? This will be real quick, I promise. And then 3 hours later, we were done.
I always hated going to his house and Arco's house because I had to do chores with them before we could go do anything.
Really?
Like, yeah.
But I would go over there to expedite things and be like, okay, let's get this done. Let's bang, bang, bang. Help you with the
you
chores.
had a maul or a splitter?
A maul.
Oh gosh, yeah. So
there was a split. Yeah, I remember when I found out there was such thing as a splitter.
You're so mad.
I was so mad. But I think of those things, and in my head, I'm a 5 or 6 year old kid. When in reality, I was a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid.
Getting
and so,
some good activity.
Right. And it was good for me, and I remember it to this day, and I talk about it all the time. And I guarantee you, like in our house, we have a gas fireplace, but I will have a pile of wood out back.
You do it.
I think so.
You should.
I think so, because that was a lesson that it would deter me from doing the wrong thing, because I didn't want to have to go chop wood. And by the way, like, we had a wood burning fireplace in our house,
But you needed that much wood.
but we had so much freaking wood.
You had enough? I mean,
Oh my god!
For years.
Like, we would give it away. Like, we
would?
couldn't.
And you
like, to the
would do all
neighbors,
that
I would
work
do all
and
that
your parents would
work.
give it away.
Yeah, and then he would say, "All right, load a couple wheelbarrows up and take it 2 doors down. You know, so and so needs wood." I'm like,
what the frick?
okay, whatever you
Neat.
say. And then, like, I just remember, like, especially in the summer, when that truck, you know, you'd wake up in the morning, or I always woke up early to play video games, because when my parents woke up, it was time to get out of the house
And chop wood.
or work. I was either working or I had to get out of the house, right? But
Get out and chop
I'd be
wood.
up and I'd be playing like Madden 95 or whatever.
What time? Like 6 in the morning?
Like, yeah, early. And then it would be like 7 o'clock and no one else is awake yet. But then you'd hear that truck backing up, and I knew it was a bunch of new wood. And I'm like, I got to get out of here, man. And I definitely exaggerate these things.
Well, yeah,
but, like,
we exaggerate everything.
that probably happened
Not
once.
Really, but when you're
You know what I
younger.
mean? That probably happened once, but I'm thinking of it like that happened once a week, you know?
I can't do no more wood.
Not the wood. Just runs away from home.
It was insane, man.
There's 3 trucks.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. That's
Chop
why
that
when
wood,
this damn
son.
tow truck comes, I'm like, no. Yeah, I don't know. I think the values are important.
Here's what I've said many times. I think that if we have this thought and we're conscious of it, number
Right.
one, and we're talking about it, I think that will lead us in the right direction. I feel like that we're doing a good job being conscious of it and realizing that, okay, this can't stay like this where they're spoiled all the time. We have to teach them other things.
Right.
And that's the goal. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to take them to India, which would be an amazing experience for them to see, like, outside of this little bubble that we're in Lake County, where everything's just like rainbows and butterflies.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it would be interesting to be able to take them somewhere where they could see where things are different and, like, out of their comfort zone.
Right.
Right.
Because again,
That's a great life lesson, just to see how things are other than here. I mean, that's big.
It was seminal for me. So for them, I wanted them to have that. And, you know, the way I was raised, and a lot of Indian boys are raised this way. We get levity to do whatever we want. And the prayer is that you will somehow get a conscience and realize you should do the right thing. Because if you don't, you'll just end up in jail or something. But for me, there was no discipline really. There was no real limits, other than, you're not allowed to stay out late. You have to come home at a certain time.
Yeah.
But I could do whatever I want. There were times in 12th grade where I would, buy computers and part them together and resell them. And I'd be up all night copying drives. And then I'd go to school. My parents never forced me to, go to bed, do things. If I stayed home from school, that was my choice. If I wanted to bring people over, that was my choice. And, I had that upbringing. And my wife, she was raised in a much more disciplined environment, right? Where there was, a lot of rules, a lot more adherence to structure. And so we have, that is our blend and our mix, right? So I'm the softie. I think we talked about
this.
This,
we did
right?
talk about it. Well, is mastery that one?
Yeah, and she's definitely more strict. And so when we are in balance, it's amazingly good, right? We're perfectly in resonance. And that's, probably the biggest challenge, because our kids, even at the ages of 7 and 6 and 5, they know who to go to for what, Mommy for ice cream at times. I don't really have a sweet tooth, and they'll go do that. And then daddy for, hey, can I download this app? It's only, first it was 99 cents. I'm like, 99 cents? You just got one last month. And now it's like, oh, Dad, can I have like $10 in V-Bucks? I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's only $10.
It's only the third time this month. I'm like, what? And then I'm looking at this stuff. So I think that, kids will learn how to adapt in any environment. They will also learn how to exploit to their benefit any environment. So that's always the challenge. Like, how do we present a unified front? How do we have common structure? How do we not get weakened and distracted? Because that's my challenge. Sometimes I'm on a call or I'm working on something, and my daughter will ask me, "Hey, Dad, can I blah blah blah?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that sounds good." And Nicole will be like, "Sanjay, did you just hear what you committed to?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Honestly, no, I didn't.
No. You just said you're gonna take her to whatever store, and I'm like, "No, I got a call. I gotta go." It's like,
It's amazing though. Yeah, the distraction. That's when you're like, yeah, whatever you want. Yeah,
you just hear the dulcet tones of their voice. And, oh, it's so pleasing.
Yeah,
okay,
sure, honey, anything you want.
So wait a minute though. Here's a thought, and I don't know if this is relevant or not, but you said something about kids will learn how to exploit their environment.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, that is a valuable skill in life.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance letting them figure out how to exploit their environment, but also hold them back to where they're not?
That's a tough one.
So that you can still teach the values of respect and understanding what is reasonable and right.
I think
You
it's
know what
getting,
I mean?
like you said, getting on the same page with everybody, like with your whole family, right? Being like, hey, this is where we need to draw the line on things. Like Sam has already figured out how to get my mother-in-law to do things. Like he gets to her house, she picks him up from school. She's like, oh, Mommy and Daddy said that you're going to take me to the store to buy a new stuffed animal.
Wow.
And Liz's mom tells me that, and I'm like, no, that conversation never happened, number one. But the fact that he completely put this whole story together and was like, I mean, he's already figuring it out. I'm like, this is bullshit. So I need to get on the same page with them and be like, this is where you got to stop him. Tell him, no, absolutely not. You can't just spoil him all the time, because that causes a lot of problems for me at home then. Right. So they're expecting these things to happen because it's happening. They're getting what they want.
So you want to high five them, for
figuring it out, right?
Exploit the system, but you also want to teach them that, look, you're going to have to up your game and wake up earlier to fool daddy. Right. And that's the whole thing. Like we had this, it's like, hey, whenever they're going to get me, they get me sometimes with things, but it's like, hey, I'm ahead of you. Kind of like Kyrie Irving tells a story where every day he'd play his dad and his dad would beat him at basketball, beat him. At the age of like 14 or 15, he finally was able to turn that corner and beat his dad, and then beat him consistently in basketball. And he credits his dad for not rolling over and letting him win. Yeah. Making him earn that made him better. Right. And so if you want him to be a better exploiter, you better call it like it is. Right.
Yeah,
and let them know, look, I see what you're doing. Okay. That's kind of interesting. However, maybe there's another way to do it. Or you can't fool dad. Sorry, go back to a different technique.
Right.
Or do it. Go chop that wood like I told you. Right.
Yeah.
Don't tell me.
Right.
Don't tell me that the maul is broken or missing, right? Or it has rust on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
I
being
mean,
left
Yeah,
out.
because guess what? I got
Those
the
are
backup.
lessons my dad. I remember one time, all I had to do was cut I mean, we didn't have a huge yard, but we had a push mower, and I remember I was like, oh,
When
I
you
got
say
it.
push,
No,
is it
not
gasoline
it was
powered
gasoline.
or the
Yeah,
little-
but it wasn't.
the
It didn't
momentum
have
based?
the what's it called? Like
Auto
push
drive?
assist.
the auto drive. Right. It didn't have that. So
Okay.
you had to push it, but it was gas powered.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a
Yeah.
turning, a wheel.
Gas cut, but not self-propelled.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I remember, I don't know what we were probably going to play baseball or something like that, but I was like, I really want to go, and this is going to take me at least an hour. So I'm going to fool my dad and say that so I learned how to unplug the
Spark plug.
spark plug.
That's so obvious, though.
I know, but I was like 12.
You're
you
like
know.
got him.
You should have
I was
poured
like-
oil in the cap and then put it on.
That would have been.
Then it would take your dad only 2 minutes to figure it out instead of
should've-
one.
Oh no, he didn't figure anything out. He goes, okay. He pulls out a pair of hedge clippers, like manual hedge clippers.
No.
He said, this can cut the grass. I go, what do you mean? And he bent down and cut a couple blades of grass. And he goes, you can do it that way.
I would have moved out right then.
I got that lawnmower started so quick.
Like, oh, I think I know what the problem is, Dad.
Let me
check
see
this
if
out.
I can work on it a
You know,
little bit.
there's a
you know?
manifold. Yeah.
That was such a good lesson, though, in, okay, you're only as smart as, or you're not as smart as you think that you are, right? Like,
Yeah.
he knew what was going on the whole time.
It's people are not as stupid as you think they are.
Or,
There
right,
you go.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. And I'll never forget that. And I'm waiting for, and again, Gibbs is 5, or going to be 6 here soon.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for him to
Try to pull a fast one on
pull
you.
something like
Yeah.
that I can say, okay, here's your alternative.
Yeah. Like,
Because I do that like in business all the time. Like, well, this isn't going right. And I'm like, okay, well, there's
other ways
other
around it.
options. Like, we can do it this way. I'm like, what do you mean?
crazy,
We can
yeah.
call people? Like, yeah, you can call people,
That's
whatever.
a thing.
Like, the app's not working. Well,
Yeah. Well,
pick up the phone,
damn it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's a constant thing. And Steve, I think you're right, though. Like, the fact that we get to talk about this once a week and then even more than that together, we
Yeah.
talk about it quite a bit. And
Yeah.
It's nice.
being conscious of how we're raising our kids and what we're teaching them, I think matters.
Does.
Because we take a lot of this stuff home
you
with
do.
us.
You still want to provide more, and you want to get those smiling moments, and you want to, give your kids everything that you never had.
Right.
You know what the thing is, too?
There's
When it
gotta
comes
be
to
a way
that-
do both.
There has to be. And I think the best way to do it is spread them out, right? To make it more magical when the time actually does come. Because eventually it'll grow stale, and there's going to be wanting bigger things,
You got it. You got
right?
it.
So spread it out and make those magical moments even bigger and more worth it when the time comes.
And there's plenty of time.
There's
to
a
spread
plenty of
this
time.
out. There's many years.
Yep,
right?
there's-
We might think like, oh man, it's been 2 weeks. We haven't done anything.
Yep. And they're like, oh,
Kids
these kids
are
don't appreciate
bored.
it.
They're gonna grow up thinking their lives sucked. They're not.
But in reality, like, if you turn them down and you're like, no, you're not getting that. They're like, okay, well, they'll figure it out and they'll go play with their other stuff that they already have.
Right.
It's so hard to do sometimes.
It is really hard to do. And that's why my basement is filled with a bunch of shit.
Mm-hmm.
All these toys that they don't even use. But I did have that conversation with Sam last week when he's like, oh, well, I guess none of these toys are good anymore. I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I'm like, I will donate all of your toys.
Yep.
Because apparently you don't appreciate any of these toys anymore. I'm like, that racetrack that you had to have for Christmas, you haven't played with that in months. You know what? I'll just donate that to somebody who
Have you
wants
had
to
that
enjoy
it.
it.
Have you had that backfire on you though?
Not yet. Because
So-
he goes, no, Dad, I'll go. Because Sam's like, I'll go down there and play with it. I promise. I don't want to. Please don't get rid of it. I'm like, okay, well, there you go. I'm like, appreciate what you have here. Because you got a lot of stuff.
And the backfire would be.
Yeah, I wanna hear the
don't
back-
care. I
I
don't
want-
care.
Yeah, he didn't care, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah?
That's still a win a little bit, right? Or you didn't want to get rid of it.
It was worse because
It was
So
grandma
I
you were
got-
talking about. And he's like,
so I got a
"Get her
trash
outta
bag.
here."
I got a trash bag, and in a fit of rage, I threw all these cars and trucks and everything that, I don't care about those. I'm not picking them up. I don't want them anymore. Okay, fine. Little shit.
So I'll show you.
Got a garbage bag full.
Yeah.
What did my dumb ass do?
You accidentally threw it out?
No.
Oh.
Worse.
Dumped it back on the floor?
No. I donated him to the daycare.
Oh.
So then he goes to the daycare and he gets to play with them anyway.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, hey, Dad, like, these are all my toys. And there was a moment of like, well, how come they get to play with them? I'm like, well, because you didn't want them.
Yeah.
And so I don't think the lesson was fully learned, but like,
There's still something there.
I remember looking at him like, damn it, he's still playing with these damn toys.
Because that happened when Sam was little at the
somebody
daycare.
else puts them away now for him.
Yeah, that's right. He's like, oh yeah, that's even better. He's like, I'm gonna have to clean up my toys. This is gold.
Oh, see ya. I'm going.
Got
home.
him.
This is great.
Because I remember we did the same thing. We donated a bunch of Sam stuff and we donated it to the daycare. And he gets to school and he's like, he sees all of his toys on the shelf. He's like, he told me afterwards, he's like, my toys are here. I'm like, buddy, I think I covered it up. And I was like, no, they just have the same stuff that you had. He's like, where's mine? I'm like, well, it's somewhere in the basement. We'll go find it later and hopefully you forget about it.
It had my same name and magic marker on it.
Don't look at that. Stock. That's how it comes.
Jam, not Sam.
Yeah, these come with the names on them. There's another Sam that has it.
Yeah. How many Sam B's are there?
Yeah.
There's a lot.
There's a ton. Don't worry.
Such a crazy, like, way, and I've asked my dad this before, and he's been on the podcast, and it's like, did you ever think about this stuff? And the answer was no. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. My dad, I consider to be an amazing father. He taught me so many things, and I also hated him until I was an adult, pretty much. And hate's a strong word, but like, never.
You hated having the stuff that you had to do, and then you're
right?
like, didn't realize that was important till later.
Right. And but I also think that made us closer as I became an adult, like, because I respect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's not the only way to parent. Like, there's plenty of people that didn't have that kind of relationship. Like, I don't think had that relationship with your dad, right? Like, your dad was much more of the sit you down and teach you.
Yeah.
Like, your dad was he taught me a ton of stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, it wasn't like my dad was iron fist, like, nope, my way or the highway. There's no questions asked, like, very militant, whatever. But so there's different ways to do it. But I just always second guess, right? Like, because you want to do the right thing for your kids.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
But like we said before, I think just being conscious of it.
Right.
Like, I think we think about it a lot more personally because
For sure.
we talk about it weekly.
For sure.
Which is a good thing.
I think it's a good thing for me.
I do.
Because I would very easily fall off the deep end and just like, oh yeah, want more I'll go stand in line on Wednesdays at Target and get more Pokemon cards. Like, sounds like fun. You know?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm a good dad.
Dude, maybe we'll pull something awesome.
Wait, do they get delivered on Wednesdays?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what the problem is here.
A little bit.
I'm not doing that yet.
To be fair, I've never actually sat in line. I just know the information.
Okay, I was going to say this is the reason why he's not hunting for bourbon anymore, because he's hunting for Pokemon cards. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, it is.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So you can't just go and buy them whenever you want.
No.
They get bought out, even
yeah.
the current version.
That is
You can only buy 2 packs.
But if everybody's buying, it's not for value. It's just because it's fun.
Oh, it's for value.
It's the thing right now.
Because if everybody's buying it and there's no limit.
So there's a ton of regular cards.
Oh,
but you have the chance. I think a pack's like
to get a
you know how much
Charizard.
a pack of freaking Pokemon cards.
No,
it's like $15.
So I never bought a pack.
Sheesh.
Even when we were younger, I never had them.
Oh, really?
I didn't have them. I don't know why. I never got into that.
I mean, we were a little bit old. I had a couple.
Yeah.
And then
I had Pogs.
Yeah, we had Pogs. Yeah.
I had Garbage Pail Kids. I have a bunch of old Pokemon cards, but they all have that gold foil thing on it. So,
Just toss them out.
Yeah. I'll take them off here.
Yeah, if you want to just give them, we'll take care of it. I'll throw them out for you.
The ones from like the 90s.
Yeah.
thousands each, right?
Tens of thousands.
Dude.
It's like a Tom Brady rookie card. 20 grand.
Yeah, right. It's insane. So yeah, I mean, there's, and my kid doesn't care about that, right? Like,
Right.
there's no,
Yeah.
But like I look at him like, well, dude, don't bend. Let's put that one in a plastic sleeve.
Yeah, he's got the
'cause
sleeves like you did for like the.
That one's pretty good. I'm like on my phone, like, well, that one's worth some money. Let's put that one aside, you
I
know.
had this fun.
Fun.
I don't know. So what hobbies? So you both have sons.
Yeah.
And you want your sons to enjoy your own hobbies too. Right?
Yes.
So that you enjoy it. So you want to impart that experience to them.
Mhm.
So for you, what are those hobbies? Collecting cards, and for you,
So mine is like, man, that's a good question. So I really want them to get involved in every sport that we can, right? So we have like basketball, baseball, soccer. I'm not a big soccer guy, never have been. I don't think any of us were ever really into soccer, but I was
It's
like, yeah,
great exercise.
yeah, it is. I mean, I'll give all those soccer players all the credit in the world. You're just running back and forth on a giant field for
Hours.
It's unbelievable. I was never really into it. Sports, definitely. Sam is, I'm trying to think what his big thing right now is. He's just very curious and wants to learn everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're constantly doing math is his thing right now. That's just what he wants to do. And then artwork.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he wants to do right now. He also does want to play baseball. Like we'll go in the backyard and play baseball. But he doesn't have like a really big hobby though, like Pokemon cards or anything like that right now. I mean, that I could really think of that.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you?
So
are you
with
Pokemon
Gibbs
cards
right now?
Ian's Pokemon cards.
And skateboards.
So it's flavor of the week, right? Like these kids,
Yeah,
there's
that's
something
true.
new all the time. But so with the cards, and my wife was actually making fun of me the other day. Is all right. So at school, there's a underground currency where these kids are trading cards and toys and things like that.
This is kindergarten, by the way.
Yeah,
For what?
kindergarten.
Like just
Oh.
bartering each other.
Yeah, right. There's a whole economy at the after school care where these kids bring toys from home and they're
Hooch.
selling them. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Just Ian's bottles of bourbon that he's
So-
bringing to school with him.
Sock
been-
wine.
Wine.
I've been trying to teach him value of
Slide
things.
wine.
So he comes home and he pulled what was the card? I don't know. It was a cool
race card.
No, it was
Pulled that, yeah.
It was a cool Pokemon card, and he was all excited about it, right? He was excited about it for exactly 2 days.
Wow.
And he comes home from school, and he's like, Dad, I traded my... I
Just say
remember the card.
Charizard or
Whatever.
something.
Yeah.
Just
It doesn't
for name's
really
sake.
matter for,
Yeah.
for the story. I was like, oh, okay. Like, what did you get in return? He's like, well, I got like 5 regular cards, and then he's going to give me a really rare card next week. I was like, okay, there's a lesson here to be learned.
You're not getting that card
you got
next week.
hosed.
A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And so I'm trying to teach. So like recently I've been trying to teach him values of things, and I'm trying to use this Pokemon obsession that he has to hopefully teach him about currency and because I caught him. We have
Going through your wallet.
no, not through my wallet, but we have like on our kitchen counter or whatever, we have where we'll get like lottery tickets.
Yeah.
And we typically, like if we win something or whatever, we'll put it back in there until we buy more lottery tickets.
Did he go cash them in at the gas station?
And this
Yeah, he's going
so
to the
there's
machine.
cash in there, and literally I'm talking $12.
Okay.
There was $12 in. There was like 5 and 7 ones that he had taken, putting in his book bag. We're like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, so there's a
To
couple
get
things that
stuff.
we need to learn here. Number 1, you don't take things that's not yours. Number 2, there's no reason to be bringing money into school. He's like, well, I wanted to buy the cart. I'm like, okay,
What? This is really kindergarten?
oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was
Wow.
telling the other day, I'm like, I don't understand how the teachers are not seeing these
Right.
kids handing money back and forth
Right.
and trading shit. Like, I don't think you even do that like when we were in high school.
Yeah, right. So
Somebody
there's,
comes in with a wheelbarrow of chopped wood. Lewis,
God damn it!
get that out of here.
Give me that.
so I'm like trying to teach. I'm like, well, what is the card worth that you're trying to get? He's like, well, it's a Charizard, let's just say,
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, how much money is that worth? Well, it's worth a lot. Well, what is a lot? And I'm trying to, and like the wheels are starting to turn. So I wouldn't call that his hobby, but I am trying to take his hobby of collecting Pokemon cards right now and turn it into a life lesson of economics.
Yeah.
And I think it's way over his head, but
Hey,
again,
get it.
I try to expose him to those things. But he's really into football right now too.
That's
That's right. He's playing flag football.
And that's been a lot of fun for me. This is the first competitive sport. And by competitive, I mean he's played t-ball. He's done, he does swim lessons. He does things like that. But
That's
this is
great.
the first thing where they keep
win or
score.
lose.
There's winners, there's losers. They keep stats. And I've been very impressed with how the kids have taken it because they're all 5 and 6 years old.
Yeah.
And, you do get concerned or worried because, up until this point, everyone wins.
Yeah.
Or everyone participates at least. And
I try to remember
worry
that.
that's going to turn into something not understanding the value of hard work to win. And these kids, I mean, they were devastated when they lost the game. And then the next week they won a game and they were high-fiving and so excited. And
some
it was
kids
pretty cool.
just aren't cut out for certain sports. Sometimes it's okay to tell Timmy he should take up ballet, right?
Right.
Instead of-
Oh, absolutely. I
and he
think
might be happy. Right,
that's why you
doing
expose them to everything.
Yeah.
And see what takes.
Yeah.
I didn't really do a lot of different activities as a child. I think mine was just I played baseball and I just
all we
took
ever
to it,
did.
and that's all. And I loved it. I mean, outside of that, I played football with my friends, I played basketball with my friends, but like team sports, I played baseball. That was my thing. But I mean, the amount of activities that we have, like starting next week, we have basketball and soccer and swim.
Yeah, it's good.
It's like
it's crazy.
Yeah.
You guys signed up for basketball again?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're waiting.
I'm just like,
There's too much going on.
Yeah, we have a lot going on. Ben is soccer on Thursday. Sam's basketball Friday. Swim is on Saturday. It's like, damn, that's gonna be a lot.
Yeah.
But what are your kids into? Like, what's their big hobbies or sports?
So I want them to like the things that I want. So I want
naturally.
them to like piano and music, and they had some lessons and interest in it. My daughter's probably a little bit more naturally good at it. I want my son to love cars, and they get those things. My son loves basketball. He's really into that, understands the stats, all that stuff. He plays some video games. My daughter somehow started to love horses, which I know is a slippery slope in terms of cost, but I never had that exposure. My wife didn't. Loves everything about horses. She does the dance and stuff like that. So they've got their own little spaces. My biggest failure in getting them to like things that I like is watching anything from the 80s. Movies, even 90s. The movies, they can tell the quality looks like garbage. They don't care about it. No
That's
Knight
true.
Rider. They'll do Knight Rider on my birthday, but they make fun of it. It's like, this is good stuff. It's like, Dad, he's in California. Isn't it hot? Why does he have a leather jacket on? I'm like,
It's such a cool
because
jacket.
it's badass.
Because that jacket's amazing.
Right. Look at the car. It runs on water, dude. It's got bulletproof. Come on. Do you know how far ahead of its time?
He's like, Dad, your car drives us without doing anything.
This guy's car sucks.
Who cares if it talks to him?
All those buttons. They don't have touchscreen. It's like, oh.
Dude, I try to play some of the movies from my childhood. Some of them they like, but some of them they're like, oh, can we watch something else? It's like, I mean, because you have unlimited options.
Mm-hmm.
You go onto Netflix and there's a million kids movies.
So many. And they're so good.
They're
A lot
good.
of them.
I mean, I
Yeah.
deal with it and I watch them. A lot of times I'm like more into it than the kids are.
Right.
They're like, oh, let's watch something else. I'm like, no, we're like halfway into this one and I really want to see how this
Gotta
ends.
see how this plays out.
I think my boy's almost ready to watch Terminator and things like
Hell
that.
yeah, man. I can't wait for Bloodsport.
Oh,
Commando.
yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Guy's amazing.
Bloodsport was
Lionheart.
Awesome. Lionheart?
It was another Van Damme movie.
What about
When he was
Double
older.
Impact?
Yeah.
Double Impact.
Is that with Rodman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was there's so many good Van Damme movies. I mean, they're all awful.
Did you see the show that came on Netflix that he did? Oh, gosh.
Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Oh, gosh, dudes. This is going to change. Are you JCVD fans?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's called
Bloodsport.
on the tower thing.
Yeah.
And that dude with the ponytail. Some spirit. Yeah.
Oh, you're mixing that with Kickboxer.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
They're
They're
all
the
the same
ponytail.
movie.
They're exactly the same. It's different.
They're literally the same
He's got
plot.
a friend that gets hurt.
Jean-Claude Van Johnson is what it's called. And it's freaking awesome, dude.
What's it? Is it like a
I'm going to tell you.
documentary?
He becomes a normal guy. And he's just trying to get back into it. So he's there. The opening scene, I won't tell you too much, but he's there. He's on a Segway. And he's in his manse, right? And he scrolls down, opens the gate, picks up his newspaper, says hi to his neighbors, and it's like, oh, his back. And then he's like brushing. Dude, it's freaking awesome.
I can't wait.
They only did one season, and I was really getting into it. But it's freaking self-deprecating humor, which, as you know, I'm a fan of.
Yeah.
I can relate, and he just makes fun of himself. It's just freaking crazy.
When he's doing the segue, does he have all of a sudden two appear, and then like they spread out, and he just does the splits between the two of them?
That would be amazing.
That would be cool. But he's at this. Hold on. He's at this one scene. You got to do this. Nobody recognizes him. He's got glasses on. He's in L.A. or something. He's at a ramen bar. Do you know what these are?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's like, hey, waiter, in his voice, and he's like, yeah, man, what's up? And he's like, have some water. Because he's got dry ramen. It's like, it's literally the brick that you get. And he's like, what the frick is this? And the waiter's like, dude, this is a concept, man. It's dry ramen. We don't put water in. He just walks away all rude. And he's just there like, then he tries to cut it.
I got to find this. It's on Netflix?
I think it was Netflix.
All right, Amazon maybe?
Van Johnson.
All right, I'll look it up.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you guys love it.
You know what you got to do is pull out none of us have this, but you remember laser discs?
Mm-hmm.
Dragon's
Did you ever have
Lair
that?
was a movie. There's a video game based on Laserdisc.
Really?
Dragon's Lair. Do you remember this? It was like a cartoon.
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
Groundbreaking. It's pretty cool.
Okay, because Laserdisc was like a thing for a little bit.
A week.
Because I remember, I still remember when
the schools all invested in all the laser discs?
I remember the teacher coming out. They had this laser disc. It looks like a 5-disc CD changer, but it's just like the one disc. And the teacher comes out and wheels it out, and they're like, oh. And the teacher's got like white gloves on. They pull the disc out. It's this giant CD. We're like, this is gonna be amazing. And they put it in. And it's like, we're watching a video. You're like, this sucks on this terrible TV that came in on a cart. It looks like a VHS
the
tape.
Straps over the top of it, so you can't even really see it.
But on that laser disc, you could hold 1/1,000,000th of the information of the internet.
Yeah, right.
So if you had a trillion of those, one of the most staggering little stats I heard was, in the last 6 months, we've created more content than we have in the history of the world. Just in the last 6 months, because we're posting everything. We're doing podcasts, TikToks, we're doing Facebook content, we're doing blog posts for SEO, blog posts for like fans, we're doing all stuff. That content. And this used to be 3 or 4 years ago. It was in the past 18 months. We did more than
down
that.
to 6.
Now 6 months.
That is insanity.
So
you know
much
what's
content.
crazy is we get once a month, YouTube will send us like an analytics report. And we don't dig into like the analytics of our show and everything because it's fun and it's a hobby.
Yeah, we don't let it
it's more
bring
for
you down
us than anything.
Yeah.
But when they send the email, I'll look at it, and I think it was what is it, April? So March of 2021, we put 66 point something hours of content on YouTube.
How's that?
How is that even possible? But we did.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. Wow.
It's insane to me.
People are making videos every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
like
we
music,
don't even,
like song reviews.
right.
And there's a million of different like channels that do that. Like
going back to
streaming.
Pokemon cards.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know there's a thing where people
open up.
buy a bunch of card packs and just
Unboxing
open them
and people watch.
for hours.
I still remember when that shit became a thing. Like when my niece was young,
Breaks.
and it was like the
they're called?
videos where the kids would just open up like eggs with toys in them.
Oh yeah.
It was just like
Oh, yeah.
she would like watch hours of these kids just opening up
I remember
things.
that. Yeah.
I'm like, why are we not doing this? Why are we not like making voices of toys and just like making a 5-minute video? And these kids watch the shit out of them. You look at these videos, millions of views.
I know.
People are making so much money on these dumbass videos, and these kids just watch them. It's like crack. They're like, what are you looking at? This is
caught
garbage.
myself. Like the reason I found this Pokemon card unboxing, whatever, is I had Googled one of the card's values.
You went down the rabbit
and
hole.
so I opened up YouTube to like upload a video or something like that for the podcast. And I see this is like a recommended watch or whatever. So like I clicked on, I'm like, oh, what is this?
Like, holy
and then I realized it was a 4.5 hour video.
4.5 hours of opening cards?
Yeah.
And 4 hours later, he's like, I should do something else.
He's like, oh my God, it's 2 in the morning.
Later, but yes, I watched it for almost 35 minutes or something like that. And I was like, I have to stop.
That's like my brother.
I was so entertained. I couldn't believe how entertained I was.
Think of these kids that are just watching this shit constantly, man.
And by the way, this wasn't a kid opening cards. This was like a 35 to 40-year-old man.
In his mom's basement.
Yes.
Yep.
All his money's going towards these cards.
I
you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
Is during the video, I mean, he's got the whole thing set up and all that. And he's got an account where people can donate.
For what? For more cards?
For more content. There was $100 donations coming in every couple of minutes.
Who the okay.
I was so mad at this dude. But he's entertaining and he was doing it and he's got 7 million subscribers or something like that. Like I was like, dude, all right. And part
you
of it
really want to watch something that bad that you're going to give this guy $100?
No, it's worse than that. The beginning of the video, he's not even opening up card packs. He's opening up packages that people send him of like cards that are worth hundreds of dollars. Like, oh, I saw that you needed this for your collection. Like, I wanted to help you out.
Is this
like,
Jean-Claude
hell
Van Damme?
are we doing?
I'm like,
right. There's so many stupid ways to make money and to be, I don't know, to find your niche. There's a book by this marketing guy, Seth Godin. I don't remember his name. I think that's it. And it's called We Are All Weird. And it's like a very quick read. And he talks about niche marketing. No matter what you're into, like we talked about earlier, somebody else is as well.
right.
Yeah.
And you will find that. And those customers or patrons or whatever it is will pay and support you a lot more than just general masses, right? So when Ford made the Model T, they tried to make it for everybody, right? But then you've got now specific vehicles that people pay a ton of money for because it's just for them, right? And so whoever, what was this again, opening Pokemon cards?
Yeah.
The people who are sending him that, I bet you it's like sending, people give Matt, our friend Matt, who does the
send him like bourbon
send him that because they want to see what he thinks about it, and they want that connection.
They get that
with him.
that satisfaction.
Yeah,
for them
they have that connection.
About that person.
Yeah, so they get that. Like Bill wanted us to do some biohacking conference next week.
Yeah,
one of the options is you pay for the conference, you watch it. The other the one is doubling the amount of your registration, but you get a box and of like goodies or samples or whatever it is. It's not just getting the box, it's opening the box with whoever this person was. So when that webinar or that session starts, they talk. It's like, I'm going to open the box with you. And so you're connected to him.
So we get the box.
I don't know if Bill did. I told Bill he should splurge. I said we'd chip in. Yeah. $199.
I want the box.
Yeah, I want the box.
I want to open it with that guy.
I want to open it. I want to feel that connection with him.
Right.
I want to be in the crowd.
I mean, there's something about the vanity of
we need to have a
being
meeting
a
after
part
this
of it,
and figure out what we need to do.
We need to come up with the dad box so that when people subscribe.
Dude, I love it. Dad box.
Yeah.
Dad box.
Dad box.
What do you got? Dad box.
Dad box.
What's
man.
in the dad box?
Let's open up the dad box together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dad box sounds dirty.
It does.
Let's try something else.
Stuff the dad box.
All right, boys. You guys ready to stuff the dad box today? Pull it out.
Oh,
Open it up.
FTB.
FTB all day.
Man, so you guys are awesome. This is, if there was a way to index all of the content and topics that you had where you can type in a word and find every snippet,
Be amazing.
the wealth of knowledge, this could be a real-time dad hacking tool, right? Like, oh no, what do I do with teenager first date? I bet you guys have talked to people who went through that, who talk about having guns and threats and whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, 100 guests. We've talked about a lot of different topics.
Yep.
It would be really cool to be able to do that. I mean, we talked about even indexing like our reviews and of different whiskeys, right? Like that's kind of a unintentional side niche market that we never really planned on being in, but it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about like how do we organize that better and how do we make more sense of it, because it's just for fun, but there's some value in it. I mean,
Where's
even
the
for us,
utility,
like
right?
yeah, right. Like, well, even for us, it's like after doing it for 2 years, we're like, fuck, I don't know if this review makes sense compared to what I rated this.
Yeah.
You know,
And it doesn't.
and it doesn't. And we don't really care, but
No,
it
we
is
don't,
what it
because
is.
I don't have the
Our
taste
palates
or
have
it's like,
changed,
okay,
right.
well, yeah, because I look at a score and I'm like, wow, that was
So no
ridiculous.
standardization because you didn't know where you were going to end up.
Right.
Plus,
Right.
this didn't become your, shtick.
Right.
That
Yeah.
part
Right.
wasn't.
right.
Yeah.
But no, that would be really cool to index everything that we've talked about. I don't really
We
know
need
how
an
to do
intern.
that, but
Let's
we
rate
can-
this on our
Okay.
nose.
You
What
wanna
is it?
rate it?
Nose, palate.
So ours is a little bit different. So Matt's is much more realistic and serious
And useful.
and useful.
and useful. Yes.
Like we rate, how does the bottle look? Like,
Yeah,
is it a pretty bottle?
Okay.
So we do bottle, appearance in the glass,
Oh,
nose,
okay.
taste, and value.
So Bantv.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. So
Did you really like this bottle? Because I thought it was kind of okay. Like
it's
doesn't look unusual.
so like I give it the it's Hawaiian,
Mhm.
right? So it's got those bright colors,
Yeah.
right? I like the story behind it with the haunted road.
Mm-hmm.
The cool story behind it.
Love a story.
Old Pally Road, haunted. Yes.
Yep. So the bottle's cool. It's like what did we just have last week? The Clyde Mays. It's kind of like the same type of bottle, right? You see some of these short and
Same
stubby ones.
shaped, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, you put gold trim on a label, and I'm all in. But I'm serious. Like that shiny, like I don't know if that's just
Well, it
shows
sticks-
my vanity.
It
but,
sticks
like,
out, right?
I look at that and I'm like, oh, that looks great.
It's a lighter whiskey,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's what, 86? Turn it around one more time. There you go. Oh God, get your readers out.
Yeah, 86.
All right. And what was the value on this? Do you remember how much?
54 bucks.
Okay, so we'll say
Okay.
$50, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think of the bottle?
I wasn't that impressed with the bottle. Like I just had Angel's Envy today, right? And I
Mhm.
love that bottle.
With
I
the
think
wings on
Yeah.
the back, and it's pretty cool.
It's cool. The
innovative
shape of the bottle and
cool.
everything.
So this one's kind of like stubby and a little bit out of shape.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
But I'm not a bottle expert, so I think
Either way.
I don't think there's anything innovative about the bottle. So I give it a 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's give it a nose. Smell it.
Wait,
Right.
what did you guys rate it?
So bottle, if we're gonna break them down,
Okay, we'll break it down.
I would go bottle. I would go like a 6.
I'm gonna go with a 5.
I like
Okay.
I like the gold trim. So
You
I'm
like
gonna
so the
go
gold
6.
is what's really
Yeah.
sticking out for you.
I mean, I'm looking at the tops of the label.
no, I see you looking at it, man. You're
Yeah.
like you're really excited about it.
It's a different
Never took you
color.
for a gold guy.
It's a different color.
That is
than,
the label. The label's
the
cool. So you're
label,
talking
yeah,
label is
yeah.
part of the bottle. Okay, so
You don't see that color often, so
No, that's why I think it sticks out. That's what it's gonna
I like
pop
that.
out at you when you see it on the shelf. And it did in the picture you sent us when
Some-
you're like,
Yeah, right.
anything good here? We're like that bright ass bottle down there.
What is that? Yeah.
It's colorful.
So I'll go 6. You went 4.
yeah.
You
I'm
went
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah, but the label does give it some
It does
coolness.
pick it
I
up a little
get
bit. I like the story, which makes me want
Story's
to
cool.
whatever. Stick with what we have.
All right. Nose.
Nose it.
How does it look in the glass?
Oh yeah, shoot. So it's lighter,
Mhm.
right? It's
Mhm.
very light.
It looks like Mick Ultra a little bit.
Yeah,
It
it's got
literally
a
does.
beer tone to it. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very,
Very
light.
light. Decent drippies. I'm gonna give those drippies a 5. Well, wait.
Hmm.
Give those drippies a 6.
Mm.
You don't have to rate this.
6 I've ever seen one.
This is a hard 6.
Appearance of the juice, I would go. I'll give it a 5. It's a little light for my taste.
Mm.
It is very light.
Yeah, even for whiskey, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's really, really light. All right.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I would say 5.2. It's like a very maybe I wouldn't think this if I didn't read the whole like advanced aging process, right? But I
Mhm.
think it's a rushed young
okay.
whiskey.
Yeah.
It's not a
Okay.
mature.
That'd be fair to say off of
Yeah.
color. Yeah.
So I'd say 5-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, 5's fine.
I'm going to go with a 5.1.
Gonna make your math harder later.
Ah, damn it. I'm at 10.1 right now.
Okay, so nose.
It smells sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not vanilla at all.
Little
For being such a low proof, it smells ethanol.
ethanol, yeah. Get a little bit of burnage there. But yeah, definitely sweet.
To me, it's
Is it
not
vanilla?
that great of a nose. I don't
know what I'm smelling. It's kind of.
I smell
I smell sweetness.
corn.
Yeah, and I think it's sweetness is
Corn.
what I'm getting.
Corn mash.
Yeah. I'd go like a 3 on the nose.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like mostly ethanol and then like just
It's
sweetness.
not that enjoyable for me to smell.
At first, I thought it was nail polish remover.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
It's just all the alcohol.
great. We're gonna be haunted with this.
All right.
I'll give it a
taste.
10. Don't harm me. All right. We're tasting it.
Okay.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Cheers. I will say this. It tastes better than it smells.
It's definitely grown on me, right? The first sip was a little bit tough and then weird because it didn't have a lot of heat to it, right?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
didn't have that
Yeah.
warmth, but I mean, it's a
Smooth.
for sipping whiskey.
Yeah.
It definitely grows on you. I'd give it a 6.5. on
Okay.
that.
I'm gonna go 7 on the taste. I actually quite enjoy it,
I think that I like
especially compared to
the smell of
smell?
it. Yeah, because that's where it's going to go up for me.
It's different. It's a little floral. It's a little, but it kind of reminds me of what Hawaii should be like, right? And so
yeah, it's got like a.
I get that, and I could see like, you think tropical. I could see sitting on a beach somewhere drinking this.
So that being the case too, like if you're on the beach, it's warm.
Yeah,
This is a little bit smoother. It's not like it's not going to heat you up too much.
Right. You're not
Um,
sitting by a campfire.
Yeah,
You
this
don't
is
need it to be super hot.
no, this is good. It's say more refreshing because it's like it's lighter,
Yeah.
like a Make Ultra,
sunset,
not that light. Sunset,
ocean waves.
tiki torches all
You
around.
can almost hear the ocean.
I can
Wait,
see
hold on, guys.
Larry Ellison's island right there.
Wait a second.
There
Oh
you
yeah,
go.
do this. You can hear the ocean.
I don't hear it.
Oh, it's there.
It's there. You can smell
I
it.
can hear the waves crashing. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. I guess I was doing solid numbers. I'll do 7. 7.
Okay.
What did you say? 6.
It did.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And then value.
I think it's a little. I guess for the. I don't know. 50. We're saying $50.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would buy it again. Being 50, maybe if it was like 25, 30. The value. I'm not saying it's like it's crazy expensive or anything, but
Yeah, I guess from an economic standpoint, it's a craft distillery. They're not widespread.
The label probably costs $3 or $4.
Right. Yeah, probably.
synthetic cork.
I think it's appropriately priced.
I think.
For a craft distillery, right? Like you're going to I'm assuming only find this in Hawaii.
That does play a part in
And
that.
so when you're traveling,
Yeah.
I would imagine that $50 for a bottle isn't that outrageous.
True.
Yeah, for bringing something home like that, it's like, okay, this is
Right.
pretty cool. It's different. You're not going to get it here at home.
I've spent $55 on worse whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
For
Oh,
sure.
hell yeah. I've spent more than $50 on
Right.
worse whiskey. That's for
Right.
sure.
I spent it on Mick Ultra.
Yeah,
In there.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 7 on value.
I'm gonna go 6 on value.
Yeah, I think it's got enough interest to me at $50 with the story.
Yeah, with
The story's really
right,
cool.
Right.
Yeah, to be at a 7.
Okay.
Totes. All right,
I
so
don't remember all my numbers.
either do I. I'm just gonna do an overall score.
Yeah. Just what is your just pick an overall, or are we doing these?
Yeah, no, that's good because that's normally what we do.
Yeah.
It's just
So that's what we
overall.
usually do. So all those other numbers,
I'm gonna go with what's written on the bottle.
6.
They
I like that.
rated it for us.
Okay.
All right, I like that. I'm gonna go with a 6.5.
That's how tall you are.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
I would say
Feel really
you guys
good.
are right there. I would say 6'2".
6'2".
Yeah.
Okay.
I think being that it's from Hawaii,
True.
right? That's very interesting in itself.
Did make a trip.
Make the trip. You went on vacation. You brought it home.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna up it a little bit for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think 6.5. Is that what I said? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel good with
Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah,
good.
it's good.
I definitely say that
I like
the
it.
smell of it is not.
Right.
I don't like the smell of it, but I
just tasted
do.
peanut butter a little, like it's
Ooh,
a
whoa.
screwball.
Ooh.
I know.
Did you order your ice cream yet?
No, I'm not doing it. I know somebody who did, and hopefully I can scam some there.
Oh, there
But
you go.
There you go. The quart.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's good stuff, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks
you
for
bringing it in.
It's fun.
Absolutely.
I enjoy drinking something from somewhere else that I'm never going to drink again. You know, so
Right.
It's
It's
exclusive,
fun,
man. Like,
right?
who else has tried this?
And
you know?
I tell you what, honestly, if for some reason we decided to go to Hawaii, I would probably search for a bottle of this now that I've had it,
Yeah.
just for fun. You know what I
Right.
mean?
You
And I would
know
go
what
buy
to
a bottle,
expect.
and
I think this
It'd be
was
fun
the
to have.
only thing that was locally done
Yeah.
there. So
That's pretty cool, though, man. That ups the score for me.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
nice.
well, thank you. Well, that's the review.
Yeah.
We could use that.
Yeah, we can.
So-
No, that's a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It
was
was
good
been a
time.
long
like
time coming,
pulling
man. We've been
teeth
talking
to get you to come
Yeah.
in here,
Episode
but-
100
Yep.
is an honor. This is great.
Yeah,
The next 100, the first 100 is the hardest, I think.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. First 100 is the
The
hardest,
first
I think.
100 is a little bit tough, and
Okay.
then
It'll
it's-
get
And it just
easier.
flows from here. We get our
Okay.
intern, then we'll be able to just
then you
kind
get
of
to
like,
4 figures, and just
Right,
work your way up.
right.
yeah, there we go. Then we're on.
We're coming up on
It'll be like, Joe
20,000 total downloads, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a big.
You
Yeah.
just
Big
hit
mo-
10,000 a few months ago.
Right.
That's a big
We're
deal.
at 18 something
Yeah,
now.
and that's fast too because I think it was last week we were talking. It was
It's
like
exponential.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. It's pretty amazing
It's
to
been
see.
growing pretty quickly, and it's fun. Going back to business mastery,
Yeah.
we're definitely trying to put some processes in place to do something with it, but still keep it fun,
Yeah.
and not work.
I think
Yeah.
we have a lot of ideas, and you sat in with us for our ideas
Right.
that we came up with. We're like, let's think outside of the box a little bit. Let's do some things different. We're still gonna work on that. We're kind of
Right.
moving things around, so we'll see.
It's fun.
It's fun, man, and this is the time to do it. After the 100th episode,
Yeah,
I guess we'll call it season 2
yeah,
coming soon.
yeah. We've had one
We should
very,
probably
very
put
long
that-
season.
We should probably put season 2 together
Yeah.
soon and figure out what the
Yeah.
hell we're gonna do here. But yeah, hey, we made it this far and we appreciate it. We were trying to get you on for a long time. And I don't remember the first time I was like, oh, I'll just wait till 75.
I know.
But hey, man,
You guys have had some amazing guests. It's been,
We definitely have.
We've been very
It's been an
blessed to, and again, that goes back to just being here. I think
yeah,
has
definitely.
opened up a lot of doors in meeting people, and then their people, and then those people's people, and
yes.
that's the cool thing of how this is kind of organically grown, and that's a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
thank
man.
you for that. Thanks for sharing
Absolutely.
your space with us
And dealing with us.
Yeah,
To 1,000 more.
yeah,
Hey.
absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Sanjay, thanks again. Appreciate you. That is
Yes.
episode 100, everyone.
Episode 100.
Please make sure that you share it with your friends, listen to it, enjoy it. Check us out on the website, www.thetalkingdads.com.
Make sure you text us. 216-279-8475.
There you go. Yeah, and all the socials, all that good stuff. Tell a dad about it. That's how we keep growing. That's how we reach more people and find more amazing guests to put this content together. Right?
Oh yeah.
It's fun. So thank you all so much. That is a wrap for episode 100. That is a wrap for season 1.
Boom. Catch you
We'll
next
see you
time.
next season.
Thank you. Hey guys, if you love what you just heard or watched, and we know you did, do us a solid and hit that thumbs up. Share with your friends and throw us a comment, literally about anything. Your support legit keeps us going. Oh, and don't forget to give us that 5-star rating. We really appreciate you.